As the clock runs out on 2020, there's only one weekend left in the NFL. As the pressure mounts, who is going to turn into diamonds and who is going to collapse? A whole lot to be decided in the AFC. Win and you're in games. Some teams need help. If you're the Indianapolis Colts, they're the Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants. The fate is not in your own hands, even if you win the game. But the pressure is here. Players say they live for this. Baker Mayfield said yesterday this is why he plays the game, for moments like this. Well, who's going to step up when it's all on the line? Who are you betting on? Who is going all in? Chips are in the middle of the table. What it do, everyone? Welcome into the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by our quarterback, Ned James. Got Michael holding it down at Radio Ranch. We got J. Pole and Josh winding out the year there at ProView Networks. And it's here, Week 17 in the NFL. And you run it down. Miami at Buffalo, Baltimore at Cincinnati, Pittsburgh at Cleveland, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Tennessee at Houston. Must-win football games for those squads trying to get into the AFC playoffs. And you talk about pressure. Yeah, all those teams playing for a playoff spot are under pressure. But, Ned, I think there is one quarterback above all else that has the most pressure on him this weekend in the AFC playoff picture, and maybe in the whole NFL. It is one Baker Mayfield. Yes, we know the issues with the receiving core. He didn't have a lot of guys available, but the two fumbles at the end of the New York Jets game, knowing that that game could have propelled you to the playoffs, and this would have been a position in which you play for the AFC North. Now, Pittsburgh is playing Mason Rudolph. Yeah, there's still some question marks around Baker Mayfield and his weapons, but he's got two legitimate running backs. It's a must-win game. He is the quarterback under the most pressure this weekend.
If you put just quarterback under pressure, it would be Baker. But I don't think Baker necessarily is the reason they'll win or lose this game. You know, it's a team game. I know Baker. I know you spoke about the fact that which quarterback, but Baker's got to, not try to put the weight of the world on his shoulders in this game and just let the game flow as it naturally flows. Yeah, he's going to be important in the big picture, but, he can't turn the ball over like you said, like he did last week. You got to just stay within yourself, play within yourself. I think if he does that, they should be successful in a team like Pittsburgh, who's going to be resting a lot of their key players and guys that may be, nursing some minor injuries. They may not play as much, or they may not play them at all. So it's a great opportunity for them to get themselves into the playoffs. A lot of people don't think that they're going to make it, but you never know. That's why, this is why the NFL's, the greatest sport in America, because of the intrigue towards the end of the season. There's some storylines, outside of the AFC, but this is what makes this a great game, a great sport, and it takes all 53 men on that roster this week in order for these teams to propel themselves into the greatest tournament in sports, the NFL playoffs, and then into the Super Bowl. So we'll see. I think a lot of it'll hinge on which team really is locked in and don't turn the ball over. That's going to be important.
So in the AFC, I think it is Baker Mayfield under the most pressure. Yes, you're right, it's a team game, but he is still the head of that snake in Cleveland. And if we look at the NFC, there's the NFC East, and Washington controls their destiny. They're the team that if they win, it doesn't matter what else happens. So you have to wait all day long. That is the final game of the NFL regular season, Sunday Night Football, Washington at Philadelphia. A whole lot of faith. Everything is being placed on Alex Smith and his return to the starting lineup to just steady the ship, give Washington that stable offense going into this game against Jalen Hurts. Washington defensively, that front seven, it's legit. They do have a good future on that side of the football, so they're hoping that front seven can get to Jalen Hurts, make him look like a rookie quarterback again, like the Dallas Cowboys were. But as you're sitting there waiting all day for Sunday night, you still have Dallas at the New York Giants. And whoever wins that game will win the NFC East if Philadelphia can knock off Washington in the nightcap. What kind of emotions are you going through as an NFL team right now when you know you can win, but you need help from someone else?
Boy, I tell you, TV has really changed how people view the world in so many ways. The Washington game, the theater of the Washington game against Philadelphia, and the theater of the Dallas Cowboy, former coach with the Giants game, you can't write a script for it. The fact that the Washington football team's game against Philadelphia is preempted by the Alex Smith story. The Alex Smith going down to Texas and having to work on his leg with the amputees, the military amputees. That series has been on all week. ESPN's playing that up all week. So people gain that insight into what Alex Smith has gone through to make it back to play in an NFL game, and to look at that leg with all those amputees down in Houston, and to say, oh, the courageousness of this guy going back out there with a leg that looks like that to play in one of the most violent sports in America. I mean, you can't ask for a better theater than that to finish up the NFL season at night on a Sunday night. Now, the Dallas thing, apparently, supposedly America's team, with America's coach being on the other sideline now, and Jason Garrett, and playing against his former team to win the NFC East title that he was fired for, that he did not get last year. And so it's the theater of it all is just what's captivating for me, which is why it gets people to the television sets. It's what gets the ratings up. The fact that Jason Garrett has an opportunity to be the spoiler, and that Dallas is going into a situation where, hey, everybody, sold them for dead. They even got Micah scared to put a poll up because he's afraid of the anti-Dallas Cowboy fans in the city coming to his house and attacking him because there's so many Dallas Cowboy fans in the city of Albuquerque. But that's something that's going to be exciting to watch. Ezekiel Elliott's coming back. He's playing well. Jason Garrett knows this team. He knows the players. And so they have a little bit of advantage from that standpoint in New York. And the game is in New York. It's just all fascinating. It's just all a great theater. And I think it lends for why we have such a great sport in NFL football.
Daniel Jones, the health of his hamstring, how effective is he going to be? Now, Dallas did a pretty good job with a better running quarterback in Jalen Hurts last week, and if Daniel Jones is limited, that takes away what makes him an effective quarterback. They're going to try to run the football right at the worst run defense in the NFL this season. The Dallas Cowboys giving up 161 yards per game on the ground. So it's Wayne Gallman, it's Alfred Morris. You're questioning Daniel Jones, Andy Dalton, Alex Smith, Jalen Hurts, but those are the quarterbacks that are playing for the NFC East this weekend. And oh, by the way, unexpected matchup out of nowhere, the Chicago Bears can win and get in if they beat the Green Bay Packers. It's yet to be determined how Green Bay is going to play this game in terms of where they feel their confidence level in that number one seed. Potentially, Aaron Rodgers maybe just trying to get out there and solidify his case to be NFL MVP this season with his performance. But it's been the rebirth of Mitchell Trubisky, who might just play himself back into a contract with the Chicago Bears, along with Matt Nagy, with what he's able to do. Because it is hard to win in this game. He came back, and he has Chicago in position. They win, and they're going to the playoffs.
Now, you get into the playoffs, how do you fire a guy that's in the playoffs, especially if they can win? The way they can win a game, and this is why they're losing games, I think, too, they can win it because they're really good on defense. Chicago's pretty good on defense, and they've got probably one of the best players in the NFL playing defense for them. But they can't run the ball that well. That's what's been their Achilles heel. Now, Trubisky gives them a little bit of a wrinkle because he can run a little bit. So he helps them a little bit from that standpoint. But they've got to run the ball a little bit better. And, you're going up against a formidable opponent like the Green Bay Packers. It's going to be tough sledding. Now, depending on how much they try to keep Aaron Rodgers in this game and not want to risk him getting injured before the playoffs start, is up in the air. You just don't know how much they're going to want to play him. So Chicago's got a lot on the line. They've been playing well lately. I've always kind of watched this team because I always thought they were going to be pretty good if they could just run the ball. And it just amazed me that they couldn't run the ball. Chicago's always been able to run the ball. As soon as they get better at that, they'll be tough. They'll be a tough out. So that'll be a great game to watch. Also, so I mean, it's just so many intriguing storylines for this last week in the NFL, and I'm excited about watching this weekend's games, I should say.
Yeah, and to that point on Chicago and running the football, when you look at what David Montgomery has done over the last 5 games, and they've won 3 of their last 5. David Montgomery, going back to playing Green Bay November 29th, 103 yards, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns, 113 yards, a touchdown, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, 95 yards, and a touchdown. So David Montgomery, as much as we talk about quarterbacks and Mitchell Trubisky, and yeah, he's added that dynamic to that offense, they're running the football, and they've been able to be more successful at the end of the season.
Right, and that's what happens, and that's the thing we say all the time. You know, it's the Game of Thrones song. Winter is coming. Do you have a running game? Because when winter comes, you better pack that running game. You better be able to run the football in December and January in the NFL if you're going to even be close to having some success and win these games. I know people think about the scoring and these hurry-up offense and these RPOs, but you better be able to run the ball in the NFL, National Football League, in the late months, because those are the games that are going to be tight. They're not going to be, the weather's going to be bad in some cities, so you're not going to be as efficient in the passing game. So you need to really be able to hunker down and be able to kind of hold on to the ball and play field position and some of those things, and eke out some of these tough wins in these cities where the weather's not going to be ideal. So it's nice. People are really on the New Orleans Saints bandwagon. They play in that dome. I'm just telling you, when you got to go into the Midwest and into the Northeast,
you got to go to the frozen tundra if the Packers are indeed the 1 seed. If the NFC runs through Lambeau, it's going to be some tough sledding, potentially really cold and rough days. Did you see what happened on Sunday Night Football last week? Tennessee Titans going in there getting snowed out, and Aaron Rodgers doing his thing with Devontae Adams. We'll keep diving into Week 17 in the NFL with so many must-win football games on deck. The pressure, how do these teams handle it? Who steps up and rises to win the weekend? We come back on the other side. Expectations, a response as Lobo men's basketball takes the court tonight. They'll ring in the new year in Lubbock, hosting Nevada. Steve Alford and the Wolfpack, and Craig Neal. No ramp to walk down to playing the Lobos this time, but a Nevada team. What do they look like? How will the Lobos respond? We'll get into that next. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
You've seen Rich Eisen on TV and heard him on the radio, but have you listened to the Rich Eisen Show podcast?
Bob Costas, how are you, Bob?
Hey.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, backed by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot. It's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Call it as Javi's looking, and he's got a guy wide open, and it's Gay, and he's gonna walk into the end zone. But he did a good job with it. First and goal, it's Chavez to the middle, and Chavez stops.
And Stevens in motion. On the handoff to Mitchell. Look out! Oh, see you later. Take it to the house. Fly, Cardinals fly. To the other side, provide some protection. And off to Webskowski again. Look out! See you later. Good night. Touchdown, Webskowski.
No, as you get ready for a game in the pit, it's the introductions. It's the music that you expect when the teams are walking down the ramp, and it's that intro that lets you know you're a mile high and louder than, and you get the reaction from the Lobo fans in the pit. Not quite the same this year, and especially when you are in a different building. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, joined by Ned James, Micah, got J Pole, and Josh holding it down on the ProView side. And I love this intro in Jeff Grammer's story today in Albuquerque Journal on Lobos and Nevada. You are now 3,202 feet above sea level. Welcome to the Rip Griffin Center, about 3/5 of a mile high and not very loud, as there are no fans allowed in tonight's game. That is the reality of the situation, as the Lobos are calling the Rip Griffin Center home for now, hosting Nevada in their second Mountain West series today and Saturday. Steve Alford, Craig Neal bring in their Wolfpack team at 6-3 overall, 1-1 in Mountain West play. They had a tough loss against Air Force, wrapping up their first two-game series. They've lost to the Falcons, San Francisco, and Grand Canyon on the season. The Lobos are just looking to not remember anything that happened in Boise State. They had a whole lot to work on because the average score of those two games, Boise State beating the Lobos, was 83-52. So hopefully you can only go up from there if you're Lobo basketball. And that was a lot of the talk about Paul Weir this week, was just getting back to work, hoping the guys understand the road ahead, the journey, practicing, getting better on a daily basis, everything. It was the physical side of it. It was the mental side of it. That all those boxes were left unchecked coming out of Boise State. But you want to see them compete. And yes, top of the list, I get it, wins. It's that email that we had yesterday to end the show. When is the coach going to be held accountable? Well, he's being held accountable right now. They're not going to do anything in season. It's a prove it time. Paul Weir, his coaching staff, how do they respond? What are they going to do to put young, inexperienced players in the best position to succeed and start being able to take those steps in Mountain West play? The next challenge is Nevada tonight in Lubbock. Yep, that's the way it is for these teams. And to me, it is about effort. You control the things you can control. Effort, execution, energy. I want to see this team be aggressive on both ends of the floor. As we touched on yesterday, if we're all playing our armchair basketball coaches, and keep it simple. I want to see this team going downhill towards the rim, pick and rolls for days, just have a revolving door up top, get the switches going for that Nevada defense, try to get Jeremiah Francis, Saquon Singleton going to the rim and then creating off that dribble drive attack. And then defensively, maybe not try to speed up the game too much because it really hasn't excelled. Paul Weir talked about it. There's different presses where I'm still not sure what they're trying to do defensively. So just be really good at one thing right now and just focus in on the half-court defense. If you want to throw some things in there, trap in the corner, trap in the post, okay. But keep it simple and try to make it as, in that regard, the ability for your players to execute whatever it is to give them a chance to compete in this game tonight.
Yeah, and to pick up off of your Jeff Grammer story, I just wish Jeff would have said one last thing positive in that story and said, hey, but they have some of the greatest barbecue, and these guys have been wearing out the barbecue here in Lubbock. That's all I think of when I think of Lubbock, because I think of barbecue.
You do.
I don't know why.
I don't know
if I haven't been there.
A basketball player trying to stay in a peak condition is thinking about it right now.
Well, no, you got to have some positive. You got to have something to say, hey, it's 3,200 feet, and we have great barbecue here. Something. But anyway, yeah, the fundamentals of the game, what the style of play is going to be, where they're going to get scoring from, who's that star. I mean, you talked about Jeremiah Francis, the North Carolina transfer. We've got to see him do something. I mean, just the fact that you went to North Carolina and you transferred here, it's not enough. You've got to bring something with you. I know they're starting him at point guard. He comes with a lot of fanfare, but we've got to see something from him. I mean, if he's going to be that point guard, we've got to see him with some assists. We've got to see him do something that tells us that, okay, this is the identity of this team. Now, they'll eventually grow together. I think it's an advantage. And a lot of people are saying, hey, they're not playing at the pit, they're not playing at altitude. This is a disadvantage. We have the advantage of the pit, and I agree with all those things. Yet and still, I think the fact that they are in this environment where they are in essentially training camp mode the entire season, where the coaches have access to them 24/7. They're in an environment where they can teach and coach all day, every day. There's no 20-hour rule and all those other rules that the NCAA are looking into when you're on your campus that other schools have to abide by because they're on campus. The Lobos haven't had to do that because we're the only state in America where we don't have our student athletes on campus. So I think that's an advantage, and I think we've got to start seeing this team gel together as a unit. We've got to start seeing it, like you said, they got to flow offensively and defensively. They should be, like a team on a rope. The guys, one guy moves one way, the rope pulls the other guy the other way. So, they should be a cohesive unit. Working together, but we've got to find that star player. We've got to find that guy they want to get the ball to because he can score. That's something I'm looking for, the defensive effort and the guy that they're getting the ball to because they know this is the guy they trust to get buckets for them. And so those are the things I think they're going to need to do in order to beat this Nevada team tonight. I'm not so much looking for the fundamental development. I mean, I'm looking for some fundamental stuff and some development stuff, but I'm looking for a win as well.
Yeah. Put the ball in the basket, and as Curtis Blow said, I like slam dunks. Take me to the hoop. My favorite play is the alley-oop. I like the pick and roll. I like the give and go. I think that's a good game plan for the Lobo offense tonight. Because, yeah, it's nice when you dribble up and down the court, but you got to do something with that basketball. And it starts with the offense. And to your point on Jeremiah Francis, he's 8 of 37 from the field, 1 of 15 from 3. He's only attempted 3 free throws. I think you would like point guard to be more aggressive in that regard, getting downhill, being effective with the ball in his hand. 10 assists, 7 turnovers. Unfortunately, there haven't been a lot of opportunities for assists the last 2 games out with the way the Lobos have been playing basketball. And it's all right. Everyone got that wake-up call. You better have been woken up with what happened against Boise State. I know Jeremiah Francis, his journey to New Mexico. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you played at North Carolina or if you're recruited there, because now you're here and he has something to prove. He dealt with a lot of injuries over the last few years. He wasn't able to get on the court and be the player that he thinks he can be. Well, now it's his opportunity to take that step forward and try to start leading this basketball team. And this Nevada team is in transition as well themselves, what Steve Alford and company are working with. And their 2 best players this season are transfers in the backcourt. When you look at Cambridge and Sherfield, and guys that became eligible this season, they don't shoot as much as they did last year, so they're a team that's going to be aggressive and really work on getting the ball inside. And so with those young post players for the Lobos, Byron Matos, Valdir Manuel, how do they hold up? And we were talking with Hunter Green yesterday, and as much as we're talking about Jeremiah Jeremiah Francis. One of the guys he's looking at too in this is Saquon Singleton, as he didn't shoot well at all, but he shot 8 free throws, and that was one of the few things that jumped out in that second game against Boise State, because it showed an aggressiveness. It showed someone else that is, and to your point, Ned, was trying to step up and create, because Quadj Malawach has definitely tried to do that at times, and he's the one guy that you go, well, I know at least he can pop. Like, he's got it in him, to score 20 points in this game, but who's going to help along the way? And Hunter thinks, Saquon Singleton might be one of those guys that helps them kickstart that offense.
Yeah. And Saquon's got to step his game up. Okay, man, you show flashes, but now you got to step your game up. Jeremiah Francis, you got to step your game up. I mean, it's okay. I mean, you get your land legs. I should say, I was going to say above sea level legs, but now we got to get land because we're down near sea level. So, but he's got to show us what all the hoopla was about him coming in out of North Carolina. Saquon Singleton, he's got to score the ball now. I mean, okay, you've shown flashes. Now we want to see some results. And so that's just how the nature of the beast is. I mean, we're watching it on television. There's a diehard, loyal Lobo basketball fan base in this town. And so they're excited to see something come of, all of this because of what happened with football. I mean, Hunter brought that up. I was surprised he brought that up. That momentum that they had going towards the end of the season. We want to start seeing some momentum with this basketball team. We understand that they are under some dire circumstances because they're not allowed to play in the city. But at the same time, okay, well, what are you going to do? I mean, and now everybody's going to start talking about the money. Well, how much money are we spending to send them, have them live in Lubbock and not, be producing anything? So just the same thing they came up with football. But football, you just stay the course. I think Paul's smart enough and understands. You just stay the course. You just, you have a plan. You execute that plan, and you stick with that plan, and you stay with that plan. And Paul's been good about that ever since he's been here. And the thing that I've been impressed with Paul Weir is he's able to adjust now. He can adjust. He's smart. He's a good basketball coach. He understands the game. He knows how to make adjustments. If something's not working, he will go to the next thing that he believes will help this team win. And he's done that every year he's been here. And I've been impressed with that part of his game. And there've been some circumstances, and I know he has to take the hit for it, with the Carlton Bragg and the J.J. Caldwell thing, because I didn't think anybody would beat them. There's no way Nevada and San Diego State come into the pit and beat them with J.J. and Carlton Bragg last year, in my opinion, and Jaquan Lyle. There's no way. But that's just my opinion now because it never happened. But I do think he's tried to adjust. He's tried to make things right, make things whole. He's got a unit of guys that he's trying to bring together, and I think he knows what formula he has to put together in order to get a win, and they'll get a win. It's just going to take them, maybe a little bit of time. We just hope it's sooner rather than later. That's all.
Well, you've watched and you've listened to everything about this Lobo basketball team over the last 2 weeks. Take your thoughts. Quan's Auto Care Hotline 246-0610. You can email the show jj@610knml.com. Hit me up on the Twitter. It's _JJBuck. Of course, Facebook is a great way to get involved. You can search ProView Networks. Watch the show there. Of course, find us Comcast Channel 26 as well. Huge day of basketball. UNM women at Nevada to start their 2-game series. That is a 3 o'clock tip-off today. We'll talk about Mike Bradbury and how the team hopes to keep the offense rolling at a high level going into conference play. Loaded as we get ready for the new year. JJ Buck joined by Ned James, Micah, got J Pole and Josh on the ProView side. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Security for your home, for your business. It's like insurance. You know you need it.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth that's real tough, backed by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot. It's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
as Javi's looking, and he's got a guy wide open, and it's Gay, and he's going to walk into the end zone. But he did a good job with it. First and goal, it's Chavez to the middle, and Chavez stops.
Stevens in motion. On the handoff to Mitchell. Look out! Oh, see you later. Take it to the house. Fly. Cardinals fly. To the other side. Provides some protection. And off to Webskowski again. Look out! See you later. Good night. Touchdown. Webskowski. Day. He's going to fire to the end zone. Open man! Touchdown! Wildcat! Not a defender inside. A little bit. Skowski on the sideline! Hasta mañana! He's off to the races! Touchdown! Clovis!
Albuquerque this afternoon.
34-24, Rancho, late in the third. How about this run? Nice play, Dickerman. He's still on his feet. Touchdown, Wolverine.
Exactly what they want to get yards.
He's going to go for it. He's got a guy towards the end zone. It's Krebs. Touchdown. What a play.
Long here for the Storm. Handoff to, we're going to fake the handoff, excuse me. Davidson on the deep ball. He's got some space, and it's caught! Still on his feet. Touchdown, Storm! Wow. Santa Maria!
And so they'll send one deep and returnable at the 2. Usually Volcano do either a reverse or a fake reverse, and here it is a reverse. And a move to the outside. There is a lane. Look out! Shot out of a cannon. Rodriguez is going to take it all the way.
Let's get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what he'll just shoot it. He's going to go all the way.
He's going to fire at the buzzer, and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much.
Tie in the district. Inside. Fly, Eagles.
Age is just a number. The King, LeBron James, turned 36 years old yesterday, had 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists as the Lakers beat the Spurs 121-107. A 3-2 start to the season for the Los Angeles Lakers, but I think still favorites in the Western Conference because at 36, no one is expecting a step back from LeBron James. And he hit another milestone yesterday, scoring just 10 points in that game. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by our quarterback, Ned James, Micah holding it down at Radio Ranch, J Pole, and Josh winding down the year on ProView Networks. So with surpassing 10 points last night, LeBron James now has reached scoring at least 10 points in 1,000 straight games. It's pretty good. Now, I think you'd expect 10 points from one of the best basketball players ever. Of course, that's not a great feat. Well, that's a record-setting feat for LeBron James because everyone has an off night, and for LeBron, the last 1,000 games that hasn't been below 10 points. Unmute your microphone.
Yes, unmute. Yes, that is amazing. The fact that LeBron James is able to compete at this level at 36 years old in the NBA. I know modern medicine is good, but it can't be that good. There is no fountain of youth. You have to have some sort of will to get out of bed in the morning and, face the kind of soreness, and I know he's got elixirs and rubs and all that other stuff, but
he
the body
spends about $2 million now yearly just on body maintenance.
Yes, but still, Father Time is undefeated. He ain't losing. So once you get up in age, the body just is still going to talk to you. It's still going to say, hey, look, hey, I'm not 21 years old. I'm not 22. It's not the same. And I know, there's, people say, hey, it's just how you care for your body, how you take care of your body. He takes care of his body better than we do, but I don't think it's by that many leaps and bounds. And you're playing against 22-year-olds. You're playing against guys in their 20s in peak condition. And so to get up and down that court, it is a challenge. And I know they're, playing his minutes. I don't know how his minutes restriction and how much he's playing this year. But as the season goes on, I'm curious to see how he progresses this year. This is a tough time at that age, getting up and down that basketball court for a big guy like him. And so, yeah, I know the money helps. But Father Time is undefeated. He still always will be. And so I'm happy for LeBron. I knew he would go out and play well on his birthday. I knew they weren't going to lose on his birthday because he wanted to probably make a statement that he's still got it. But it's going to be tough sledding, I think, for him this year. It was kind of in his favor a little bit last year because it was a hybrid season. They cut it kind of short, so I favored old guys last season in the bubble. Favored old guys.
You got the rest before heading to Orlando when the season was suspended on March 11th. But LeBron played the most minutes of any Laker last night at 35 minutes on the court, and that's going to be the expectation. This team is still going to go as far as LeBron James can take them. Yeah, I know Anthony Davis is there. I like the offseason acquisitions, but all those things were to help LeBron James, who still has to be one of the best dudes in this league. 36 years old and doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime.
Yeah, answer one question for me here, because this is the one thing, and I got into this with Lenny last year about the Lakers, because I was big on the Lakers because I like size. I'm a big guy, advocate. I think it's a man's world. The bigger the guys, bigger football guys win, bigger baseball guys win, bigger basketball. So I was really happy with the Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee thing. I'm not as big on Marc Gasol and Harrell. Do you think those two in combination are better than the Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee Twin Towers last year? Because I thought that gave the Lakers an advantage last year with those big guys. And Lenny was, it's a shooter's league. It's a shooter. You got to have shooters. Lakers won't win because they don't have shooters. And I was championing the fact that, hey, this is a big man's world. I like the fact they have Dwight Howard. I like the fact that they're big and long with Anthony Davis. But more so was Dwight and JaVale. Does Marc Gasol and Harrell, which I don't believe Marc Gasol and Harrell give them as big an advantage as Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee did. What do you think about that?
I think, this year, that statement matters. Last year with that team, the way they were built, it wasn't about shooting. So I think Lenny's statement, if you translate it to this year, it has more of an impact on this team because they're built differently. Montrezl Harrell's not that defensive presence. I think they're better offensively overall with Harrell and Schroeder, but they're in those areas in the post. JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, to your point, they were physical presences, finish the possession defensively, score at the rim. Rajon Rondo still played a high level of defense on the perimeter, so you're not getting that same out of Dennis Schroeder, but you're better offensively. So I think that statement translates more to this year's team. So to your point, yeah, they're different. They're not going to necessarily be able to win the same way with some of their peripheral pieces. I don't think Marc Gasol was a great addition, but for what you're asking him to do, if you get 12 good minutes, like 12 to 15 good minutes out of Marc Gasol, those are some of those moments where he can still at least be a body in the post. The biggest thing is Montrezl Harrell and Anthony Davis. How those two play off each other, because Montrezl Harrell does have some defensive deficiencies. So they're going to have to be even better, points per possession offensively, shooting wise, Schroeder stepping up, making up for it on the offensive end, some of the deficiencies that they have. So you were correct on this team last year, and I think this year's team is even more about what is happening on the perimeter, losing some of that size and guys that win around the rim. But still, yeah, it's LeBron, AD, and as long as LeBron can play as one of the best players in the league, they're going to have a chance. But the story of last night's game, as much as we talk about LeBron, it's his birthday, Greg Popovich didn't feel like coaching. He wanted to give someone else a shot. Greg Popovich gets ejected in the second quarter, and Becky Hammon takes over to coach the game. Becky Hammon is the top assistant for the San Antonio Spurs, and everyone was looking it up. And to the best of everyone's knowledge, Becky Hammon was the first woman to coach an NBA team, be the leader on the sidelines. Of course, the Colorado State alum, a storied professional career for Becky Hammon, who has been a big part of that staff along with Greg Popovich. And this is what Becky had to say after the game.
It's a big deal. It's a substantial moment. I say this a lot, but I try not to think about the huge picture and the huge aspect of it because it can get overwhelming. It's my job to go in there and be focused for those guys and make sure that I'm helping them do the things that will help us win. I did not walk into the arena thinking that I would be coaching, tonight. But that's the way things go, and you roll with it. And I would have liked a different outcome. Overall, I would have loved to get a win tonight more than anything.
That was Becky Hammon post-game on stepping up for Greg Popovich. You got ejected with about 3 minutes to go in the second quarter. I've looked at this situation over the last few years, and this has been the one where you say this is a chance, for Becky Hammon to get a legit opportunity because of who Greg Popovich is. The belief that Greg Popovich has in her as a coach, doesn't doubt her ability, trusts her to work with these players. She's won at a high level in the G League being a head coach. Getting guys to listen to her, because that's always the worry. Who's going to listen? LeBron said after the game that he didn't notice a difference. It was just a different tone of voice, but the same thing that any coach would say from the sidelines, Becky Hammon was doing that. And while San Antonio lost, that was a big moment. And it is Greg Popovich absolutely sending messages to everyone else saying, this is real, I trust her, and she can do this.
Yeah, this is a long time coming. This is not anything that's just that out of the norm. I think, we should have had 5 women NBA coaches by now. I mean, it's ridiculous that we're even having this discussion in 2020 that a woman's capable of coaching. It's a basketball game. I mean, there's probably been women coaching men in basketball for decades all over the world. And she's just shown that, there's given the opportunity, a woman's able to do just as good and be just as efficient and successful as a man could, and then coaching professional basketball players. So, I mean, to me, it wasn't anything that was extraordinary. I think, the success of these college women's basketball coaches shows you that, the level of understanding of the game and the teaching of the game. And I always remember Bobby Knight would talk about women coaches because he taught a basketball class in Indiana. And he always said the women students were the best students in his classes. He says, I don't know why we don't have more women coaches, because all the best students that I've ever had teaching my basketball theory class, then the women, they get the best grades in the class. So, from that standpoint, you realize that, hey, yeah, it's a kind of a seminal moment, but at the same time, it's something that I don't think it's really out of it.
And you look at the basketball careers that a lot of these women have had, they're more, you look at that trophy cases, a lot of them have a lot more trophies than a lot of the guys out there. Yeah, and can you coach basketball? It's the same game. They do the same things. Can you develop, present your concepts?
Have you ever played basketball? Have you played basketball, JJ, against a professional women's basketball player or a good college women's basketball? I remember in college, I would go over to USC because they had open gym, and I'd play against the McGee twins and Cheryl Miller and all them. When I was in junior college at Pasadena, I would come in USC, and I just remember getting elbowed and I was a football guy, so the physical part of the game you know, I was curious to see how the ladies were. And I grew up in a neighborhood where there were women players that played basketball, girls that played basketball with us at the park. And so I grew up with women's basketball. One of my mom's friends played on a professional women's tackle football team. So I would go to women's professional. So it's never been, you know, I'm 50
it's not
years
shocking
old now.
to you.
It's not shocking to me to see these women in these positions playing these sports because it's been decades that they've been doing it. So I'm just glad for Becky Hammon to get an opportunity.
Yeah, I've been
in this arena.
Yeah. If you can ball, you got the skills, it shouldn't matter as long as you can present it to someone else to get better at the game. But still, to your point, while at this point in time everyone realizes, if you can coach, you know, the game shouldn't matter. You know, there's a lot of people in front offices that didn't necessarily play professional sports, but you can still be good at what you do regardless. And last night it was a big moment. Becky Hammon steps up, running the team, because Greg Popovich has trust, and it should no longer be a question if she can or cannot do it on that NBA sideline. Rolling along on the final day of 2020, JJ Buck joined by Ned James, Micah, got J. Pole and Josh. They're having a party at ProView Networks. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Now through Christmas Day.
Chavez uses some athleticism, and then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds. And look at this, stripped, stolen Watson. Kristen Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
He couldn't have said that any better. He answered the question. He
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
Into the paint. Medina from the volleyball lines. Medina wants another one from deep. Oh, he wants 10. Give him 10.
Lewis finds Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Vista, but just all the different scenarios we can see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.
Oh! Ho, ho, ho!
Moreno extra pass. And Watson. Out with it, Gallegos, and he's going to run all the way. Window, yes! Able to get out of it. How did he find Battle? It's to Cunningham, and it...
I mean, Ramos' hand.
Ramos puts it up, beats the buzzer!
Boy, Jefferson wide open.
Jefferson to Daraji! Into Watson with the jam!
Another steal by Davina Lovato, and here comes Agbayosi. Lob, two-hand hammer. You knew that was coming. Heck about the lob, tagged by Osi, the one-hand hammer.
Put up. And a drive from Parham.
creates space. He gives it off to Rivas for the three, and he buries it.
Coming in soon. Double kick set for Avalos. Goes to the right. Avalos puts it up high. Window. Scores it as foul.
Right here by Lewis all the way, coast to coast, and finish.
What a
Around the screen against White. Step back. It's blocked. JB with the block.
In transition, ahead to hit on.
CFP, Friday, Final
Yes.
Four. Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State. It is what it is. We'll talk about the games. Could it be better? Absolutely, but it's here. How does Notre Dame survive? How do they stay in that contest? Ohio State and Clemson, there's a lot of talk because of Dabo Swinney. The Buckeyes have to respond. Justin Fields, we're going to talk about quarterbacks under pressure. The Ohio State quarterback better show up against the best quarterback in college football, Trevor Lawrence. The opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, joined by Ned James. Mike holding it down at Radio Ranch. You got Jay Pohl and Josh on the ProView side. So a full house in our final show of 2020, but on a loaded day. There's so much to get into going into the weekend. Someone that I think would have liked to see a season end early was Kyle Trask and Florida, who did not have a good day against Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl last night. And yes, players opted out, but that's not going to matter for a lot of people when they just look at that final score line and the stat line. 55-20. Did the defense opt out? Did I miss the Florida Gators defense not showing up for that contest? But Lincoln Riley wins a bowl game for the Sooners. Spencer Rattler, man, 14-23, 3 touchdowns, 247 yards. But they had 2 players rush for over 100. Now, Dan Mullen, though, he stepped in it a little bit, and then he tried to back up, but then he ran over it again, trying to backtrack from his comments. He said after the game, the Gators head coach, that he said, quote, the last game the 2020 team played was 11 days ago. So that is a coach throwing everyone under the bus, running them over, and going, oops, let me try to backtrack them, hitting them on the way back. You are the head coach of this football team. You had players opt out. And now that's the message you're going to send after getting your tails whooped, is you're not going to step up, hold yourself accountable for that. Say, hey, we didn't put our players in the right position. Just take the coach speak high road out. Now you're going to put it back on the players that opted out in a scenario in which so many have this season. Get out of here with that mess, Dan Mullen. You're the head coach. This is your team. It's SEC football. You're the one possession from Alabama, end-all, be-all, and you're going to do your guys like that at the end of the season?
Yeah, well, it's typical of the SEC. I'm watching a good friend of mine, Greg Knox, on the sideline there. He coaches the running backs at Florida. And, we'd always get on each other about California and Texas. He's a Texas guy. But the SEC thing, Dan Mullen obviously assumed that the national championship game was played a week ago in the SEC championship game, because those SEC guys believe that, hey, we are the elite. And the championship, for the national championship, is played when the SEC championship game is played. When we lost the national championship last week, this is just this is just us, practicing for the next game. The fact that they felt that they were somehow superior to an Oklahoma team that they hadn't played yet was interesting to me, and I thought, for Mullen to kind of stick his chest out, I think he just did that for the fan base, because Florida fans believe that they should be winning national championships like Florida.
You can do that for the fan base, but how about the players in the locker room? If anyone has something to say, it's Kyle Trask. Like, I'll listen to him about, I didn't have my top 4 receivers. It was a different day. I don't want to hear that from the head coach. There's certain things you can't say. There's college athletes. You put this team together, Dan, and if the players opted out, then you need to figure out, all right, what's the best position for us to be in to compete in this game? Your defense gave up 55 points. I don't remember hearing the 4 best defensive players opt out going into that game, and then for you to just throw all your players under the bus like that.
And Oklahoma's best defensive player opted out. So
and then he went on to say Dan Mullen, because he was laying it out, he's like, we only had 60 scholarship players available. How many players are on the field at one time?
Exactly. 11 at a time.
Still have more players than an NFL roster.
Yes, they do.
You have 60 scholarship players available. Last I checked, you're not running a 30-man rotation on either side of the football. It was a bad look for Dan Mullen. Anytime a college coach throws his kids under the bus like that, it ain't good. Man, you have to take that. Okay, I'll listen to Kyle Trask, the quarterback, talk about the challenges of that offense, but you are the head coach, and you're doing that to your guys. What the heck were you doing this week? What were you preaching? Were you telling your guys all week long, hey, man, we're not going to be any good. Those guys don't want to be here. Or were you trying to get them to buy in? Dan Mullen, put your mask on. Go figure it out. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlings, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Creates space. He gives it off to Rivas for the three, and he buries it.
They'll be coming in soon. Double quick set for Avalos. Goes to the right. Avalos puts it up high. Window. Scores it as foul.
Right here by Lewis all the way, coast to coast, and finish.
What a...
Around the screen against White. Step back. It's blocked. JB with the block.
In transition, ahead to hit on for the two-hand hammer.
Minutes to go. They've got a shot. They have a chance, and it's put up, and it's good. What a three that is by Jalen.
Hito puts it up.
Rebound Cowboys. Right side David Hall. Thank you very much. Here come the Cowboys. Domina Lovato lays it up. Missed it. Hey, how about it? Thank you, Lusses. Thank you very much, Raquan Mitchell. Clock at 6. They get it. Barnes Tompkins fires. Yes! Pass up court. This for the win. Blocked by DJ Bustos. Cowboys win. Cowboys win.
Second field goal, he's got 4 points. Watson, though, goes all the way.
Hit the deck, I should say. Cordova tried to throw it off Romero. A three for...
Set out to Jutapia. Nice move behind his back. It's a good... Here's Ramos, step back, high arcing, twine!
But he needed to get his legs back under him.
Ooh, a little kick.
They leave it one more time to Hammer.
Well, we want people to be honest, but sometimes, say if you're Dan Mullen, you need to understand the situation, read the room, not throw your players under the bus. Or if you're an analyst, maybe present your comments better, but sometimes they're just bad comments. The opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by our quarterback Ned James, Micah holding it down at Radio Ranch. We got Jay Paul and Josh on the ProView side. You can get involved in the final show of 2020 today. 2460610 is Equan's Auto Care hotline. You can email the show jj@610knml.com. You can find me on the Twitter _JJ Buck. Facebook, a great way to get involved as well. Watch the show, comment live. Facebook.com/the OD and the AM, or search ProView Networks. Also, give them a like. A lot of stuff going on. ProView guys pumping out the content, including the opening drive. You can watch on Comcast Channel 26. And if you missed some of the show, you want to watch it back, it re-airs at 3 o'clock. So I know this is something, Ned, that caught your attention, and it became quite a talking point when we talk about Booger McFarland, NFL analyst for ESPN, former sideline analyst on the Burger Mobile on Monday Night Football, but now he's doing the pregame show. On Monday Night Countdown, he had a comment on Dwayne Haskins, but he directed it at all black players in the NFL. And he said, quote, my message, and so we'll get into what he said, doubling down on it, and then kind of dive into what he said, because I know it really caught your attention. But this is what his response yesterday was, quote, my message was to all players, which I said, but specifically to the part of the NFL that makes up almost 70% the African American players. And of course, I'm not speaking to all, but in my 20 plus years around the NFL, I've seen too many cases. I stand by what I said, whether you agree or disagree. So what did he have to say? Well, he said this on Monday Night Countdown. Said oftentimes young players, especially young African American players, because they make up 70% of this league, they come into this league and ask themselves the wrong thing. They come into the league saying not, how can I be a better player? They don't say, how can I be a better teammate? They don't say, how can I be a better person? How can I get my organization over the hump? Here's what they come in saying. They come in saying, how can I build my brand better? How can I build my social media following better? How can I work out on Instagram and show everybody that I'm ready to go, but when I get to the game, I don't perform?
This is an old man. I mean, he's older than me. He's probably, 80 years old, Booger McFarland. I mean, this is the epitome of get off my grass from a guy who played in the league, who made a lot of money, played in NFL, who all of a sudden sees a younger generation come along, and particularly a young African-American generation whose style is different. Barkley was no different when he talked about Allen Iverson and how he thought Allen Iverson looked like a thug or something because he had tattoos and braids in his hair. And Barkley didn't have braids in his hair. Barkley was from Alabama, and Iverson's from Virginia. It's just a different style. These guys don't realize once they're retired, you're retired. You don't play anymore. These young guys have a different swag. JJ, when it comes to the social media, the Twitter, I'm way behind on all of it. And so I don't know much about that. So the social media stuff, I don't get a lot of. But that's just the way the young generation communicates now. They have a different way of going about their business. The fact that he tied it to Dwayne Haskins, and the release of Dwayne Haskins, and then he tried to generalize all young African-American football players is absurd. I mean, these guys work hard to get to the NFL. There's not some sort of cookie cutter mold that they all come out of and they all behave in this one way. And I was with Baker Mayfield. You talk about a guy with swag. This guy had his own personal valet. I had 3 bags, and I'm an old man carrying them from the airport. He's got a valet carrying his bags. We're going in the same van to the same building. And I don't have and he's a 22-year-old guy, and he's a multi-millionaire now. So, but that's just something that these older guys just are trying to insert their own ideas into what these young guys are. And he's using the fact that Dwayne Haskins is a black quarterback who is made $40 million, and he's projecting it also on a former player from LSU like him and Jamarcus Russell. The fact that Jamarcus Russell got into this whole clique, and they all do that. All the players have these guys that they hang out with. Some are tied to business. So, some guys come in and you'll see them in a 1976 Ford pickup truck, and they'll have $30 million in the bank. Some guys will have 5 Mercedes-Benzes in different colors when they come in. Guys are just different when they make a lot of money, and you can't pigeonhole guys just because of their race. I've seen guys do it from all races. Being in that league, watching guys with first world problems, guys who have multiple millions of dollars who are young. They're going to make some mistakes. They're going to do things that we don't like. The fact that he believes that he really knows why Dwayne Haskins was released by the Washington Redskins is beyond me. Who are you? Are you his agent? Are you a personnel guy with the Washington Redskins? You know, the personnel people told you, hey, the guy's falling asleep immediately. There's a lot more to it than the fact that they were releasing him at this time. And so we're never going to know what happened. I've been in those personnel meetings. I've seen where guys are released for all kinds of reasons. And so I just thought it was unfortunate that McFarland, he has a right to make it. He's a journalist now, I guess, or a talking head, a sports talking head. And so he's allowed to make some grandiose statements. I just thought it was unfortunate and unfair that he would place this on all young black African-American or black NFL football players.
Blanket statements usually aren't good. And this was a blanket statement.
And it was a blanket statement. And that's why people came out against him. Yeah, that's why they came out against him, because he made this blanket statement. And he said he really didn't care. He was trying to act like the grandfather, like he's reaching out to all these young guys to give them business advice on how to, be a good NFL player. You got to produce. You got to be productive. These guys understand that. That's how they were able to make it to the NFL. So I just think that it was just really unfortunate for him to make that kind of a statement about just to blanket it to all. Now, if he has some of the inside details on Dwayne Haskins, then point out the fact that this is what happened to Dwayne Haskins. But don't make these blanket statements for all NFL players, because there's all these guys. I mean, they have all sorts of issues that they come in there with, and some of these guys are having problems that they never imagined that they would have, because it comes with the money that you make. And Dwayne Haskins, he made a couple missteps with the protocol. We're in a pandemic, and it was just public, and his team happens to be playing well, so he got put in the spotlight, and sometimes guys can't handle it, and so I was just disappointed to hear McFarland, just like you said, make a blanket statement of it. I don't think that all these players come in here thinking that they're going to be on Instagram, and everybody wants the brand. Everybody wants a brand. Everybody thinks that there's a reason why you're in the NFL and you're making millions of dollars. You are a brand. You are a CEO. You are your own corporation. All those things he's saying that they're trying to do, it's because they really are those things. And he probably didn't make as much as these guys are making. They're not going to make it for very long. But a lot of the guys, they do take care of their business. They really are trying to learn how to be a professional. Sure, when you have a change of guard like Dwayne Haskins had, there's going to be some missteps. And so I just thought it was just disappointing to hear McFarland, kind of reach out and try to touch every single black athlete with his statement, which I'm sure a lot of guys are listening to and saying, hey, that's not me. I'm here to try to be as good a football player as I can, and I don't want people stereotyping me, saying that I fit into this mold that McFarland believes that a lot of these young black athletes come into the league.
It's unfortunate that to that point, he just threw everyone in there and said, hey, listen up, when it's Dwayne Haskins we're focusing on right now. And we all saw what happened. Dwayne Haskins made a huge mistake. He put that entire quarterback room at risk and could have even potentially hurt that team's chances more so, not even with his play on the field, but had he shown up and gotten everyone else either infected or put in COVID protocol if they had a meeting together like we saw happen with the Denver Broncos, and that what led them to start Kendall Hinton, a practice squad wide receiver at quarterback. So the Dwayne Haskins situation, we all saw it. It's not necessarily hey, I need to make a blanket statement on the entire league. No, he made a mistake off the field. He had chances. He did not perform on the field. It's a new regime who is not on his side. And unfortunately, he has to pay for those mistakes he made on and off the field. And you hope it humbles him. He has a work ethic to want to get back, and we'll see who gives him another chance. It's not a new story. We've seen it before. It's not this, only the black players or black quarterbacks are doing this. It's tough, to what you said, Ned. Everyone knows what they're expected to do at that league, and if you don't make it, you usually know why you didn't make it.
Right, and he's got $14 million to go lay on if he doesn't make it in this NFL, which a lot of us wish we could go and lay on top of if we didn't make it and work next week. But 23 years old and having $20 to $30 million, that's a first world problem that a lot of people don't realize and don't understand how it's going to affect you. And so that's another thing that, young guys develop. I had a guy named Pac-Man Jones when he was 22 with $30 million. And you can imagine, he played 14 years. I didn't think the guy would last 2 weeks when he first came into the league, the way he was behaving. But the guy played 14 years. People are shaking their heads going, how did the guy, as much trouble as he got, play 14 years? Well, he could play. He eventually turned it around. But on Sundays, the guy could play. Now, Booger McFarland can say what he wants, but Pac-Man Jones was far worse than Dwayne Haskins. Far worse.
Well, that's the thing. That's also part of the reality is you're going to get more chances, an extended opportunity if you can play. And it was bad for Dwayne Haskins. It was a big mistake in the midst of a global pandemic with everything that your team has protocol-wise to do what he did, and then he went on the football field and just could not take those steps forward. But that's a Dwayne Haskins issue right now, not an entire NFL issue.
But him getting released is no different than Josh Rosen getting released from Arizona. It's just Josh Rosen didn't get in trouble. He just got released because they brought in another quarterback. So you're going to get moved for all sorts of reasons. I don't think he got moved just because he was at some party.
He started the next 2 games.
Yeah, the problem was somebody decided, hey, look, let's just cut our losses here. We want to go with a different quarterback. And Ron Rivera does that. I mean, those guys do that sometimes just to make a statement. I don't know if it's necessarily a great statement, but they decided they wanted to go that route, and maybe there's something that we don't know, and we'll never know. But I don't think Booger McFarland knows. And so I think Dwayne Haskins, you don't get drafted top 15 unless there's something to you. And so there's going to be a lot of suitors out there for this young man if he can get his life.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Once he kind of moves past this, do they believe in the talent? Is he going to get an opportunity? Because, Josh Rosen's been sitting out there. He can't even get a backup job right now. He's like QB3 practice squad guy. And I know he was someone you thought was really could potentially even be the best quarterback in that draft. But life comes at you fast. The NFL, not for long. We know all the cliches because it is hard to make it in that league. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
I'm not your grandma. I don't knit sweaters for...
Saved into the hands of Riak, ahead of the pack, Domino Lovato, up high, down hard for Akbayosi. Out of the corner, Casals, the 3-0, Katenge! Let me clean up the mess! He dropped out of the rafters for that one, Steve.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
They got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
Third and 6. Big defensive play coming up here. Little trickery to Reese. See you later. Touchdown. They went for the deep ball to Reese.
To the right, single receiver split to the left. Play fake, head up the middle, got some room. 50, 45, 40, has one man to beat. 30, 25, 10, 5, touchdown. Touchdown, Hope.
Wow.
On a
Option again, he'll keep it. Now he'll pitch it. Comes out to the 30, 25, 20, up the sideline. Still inbounds, into the end zone. Let's see.
Touchdown.
Touchdown, Portell.
The outside of running an out route. Davis in the play action, looking. He's going to go back to Lewis, and Lewis makes a cut, and Lewis still on his feet. Dorian Lewis is in for a touchdown. Back to toss it. He's got all day. It's one miss, and he's rolling. He's got a guy. Can he get it there? Davison to Luke Weissong.
We told you he
touchdown.
Could spin that football, and that was a throw right there. I know he's got the win in his back, but.
To shoot. They'll get one off, and it'll count high off the window.
Oh my gosh.
Here's the long three.
Boom.
Bang. Martinez will beat the buzzer. Got it to go.
Ford driving kick. Three's in the air. It's good.
pass on the nice block by Hernandez Cropper.
And Brown in the transition. But why not, Steve? Is Corbalon's gonna go and he puts it away. And Corbalon wants to put it down. Here comes Las Cruces. Brown, you can't leave him alone. Put it down.
Gershon in transitions, 3-on-2. Gershon gonna go all the way. Whoa, Morgan.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
So San Jose State is in a similar position to New Mexico right now. San Jose State can't play and or practice in their home gym. So they have relocated. They are playing in Arizona. New Mexico State is in Arizona. By the way, New Mexico State is supposed to play Santa Clara today. They hopped on a jet to California. Last night, Santa Clara popped positive in their program. That game is canceled, so now New Mexico State's in California looking for someone to play. So they might get 2 games against UC Riverside this weekend because that's where they're practicing right now. But that's college basketball as we know it in the moment. Schedules are changing daily. Things arise. But for San Jose State, there's major questions about where they are playing their basketball games as they get set to host Boise State today. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, joined by Ned James. I'm Michael holding it down, taking your calls, 246-0610 and Zequan's Auto Care Hotline. Jay Pohl and Josh on the ProView side. So San Jose State will be playing in Phoenix at Ability 360. It is a sports and fitness center designed to help those with disabilities. But if you look at it, it looks similar to any gym basketball court that you've been to. You go to a defined fitness, whatever it may be, they have a basketball court, and it's very similar to this setting. There's been a lot of questions, frustration in Boise, kind of like, what are we doing? Where are we playing? And you're reading the comments from Broncos head coach Leon Rice. He said, quote, "We always say whether it's in front of 1 person or 10,000, our job is the same. So if it's for the guy that's running laps around the track above us, then he's going to enjoy a great basketball effort by us." So a better response there from Leon Rice,
right,
understanding the situation. But it also brings up, at what point does even the Mountain West step in and say, all right, if you don't have a college facility to play in, I know San Jose State, you want to host a game, you're going to have to go play this game in Boise. Now, because the difference, at least with the Lobos hosting Nevada today, they're at a college facility. Like it's built to at least play junior college basketball, D1 basketball, whatever. It's not a fitness center. So I'm wondering, at what point does the Mountain West have to step in a situation like this? Okay, it's a basketball court, there's rims, but you're at a gym in Phoenix.
Well, here's where it gets interesting, because you find out, where the money and the politics lie with these administrations, whether it's the Mountain West Conference authorities or it's the school authorities. I mean, who's determining who is playing and why this person is playing in certain areas? Because your athletic administration is going to have to figure out a way to get whatever the conference decides done. And they're going to have to get permission from the administration at their universities or in their state. Or there's health and safety measures and protocols in place by the state. There's state regulators. So it's just fascinating. I mean, this is why administrators make the big bucks. You got to make these decisions. You got to get this stuff done. You got to get it figured out. You had it easy for the last couple of years because, hey, all you had to do was worry about your own venues and your own arenas, and it was kind of cookie cutter what you were essentially going to do, and everything else, the residuals you made from coming up with other ideas was based off of knowing where you're going to be all the time. Well, now you don't know, so you've got to get creative. You've got to figure out ways to get your athletes to and from. You've got to figure out where you're getting fed. You got to get schools. There's you've got obstacles now. So it's fascinating to watch. It's kind of people saying, hey, look, we play a sport. It's really not a priority in a time like this, but yet it is a priority. So we're going to have to figure out a way to get around some of the political machinations and some of the administrative doings and get it done. And so that's what people are doing. And, if it doesn't work out, if we have to cancel games, then so be it. We got to keep this train moving, and we've got to go on with our lives. We've got to keep trying to find a way to overcome a lot of the obstacles that are in the way. And we have to support one another. We have to support each other as a community and as a community of teams and sports and as a country. That's basically what it comes down to. It's tough. It's tough right now to love your neighbor, but you've got to love your neighbor. You've got to love someone that you absolutely do not agree with necessarily.
Or maybe even just be able to give them a place to play basketball. 246-0610 is Equan's Auto Care hotline. Rudy, you're on the opening drive. Good morning, Rudy. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Just wanted to make my annual call on New Year's Eve to kind of lay out my New Year's wishes for everybody. You know, for this state, I hope and I wish that we get through this pandemic. I really hope and wish that the governor reconsiders her ridiculous order and allows science to control this situation. I cannot, for the life of me, figure out how you can be safer playing in somebody else's gym than your own that you can control. I can't see how you can be any safer being here in Albuquerque and traveling out of the airport through a door that nobody else goes through to a plane that nobody else has been on and has been sanitized, or however the team is going to go. But I just think it's really unfortunate that both the governor of California and the governor of this state have decided to just ignore science, ignore 1,200 COVID tests with 2 positives. I mean, that's not even, I don't even know what that percentage is, but it's less than 0.1%. And I think that's the only way that's going to open up, because here we go, guys. Now there's another variant. Have you heard this? Now they're finding a variant of the coronavirus. So yeah, I don't know if they're just digging more, finding more, or it really exists. But I do know one thing, that you can't keep going forward the way you're going forward and asking kids to basically be incarcerated. I think Coach Bradbury hit the nail on the head. The only difference is you're not in a prison, but it's the same conditions. So this state needs to find a way out, and I really object to any money being spent in another state when it could be spent here, when it could be spent with the players being at Lobo Village. That place is closed down anyway. I just don't understand that, so my wish is that some sanity prevails and that somehow the governor's heart softens when it comes to these. No, it's not a priority, Ned. You're absolutely right, but it is at the same time. You know, tell me how you guys, what the buzz was that you heard around town when the Lobos won those last 2 football games. Everybody in this town was talking about Lobo football. Everybody. Go wherever you could go. And there weren't very many places, but I'm standing in a line at the grocery store waiting to get in, and everybody was talking about the Fresno State game. And Elijah, and Isaiah Chavez and what he did and how things look now. So sports are important. It's a diversion. It's a way to get our mind off all the other things that we're confronting. And you guys have done a fantastic job. I mean, to sit there and slug it out every day on the air and find things to talk about. I know we haven't had as many people calling in as we should, but maybe 2021, my wish is that you guys get flooded with all kinds of callers and good takes. So with that said, say goodbye to 2020, and let's hope that 2021 is a much better year. Thank you for all you guys do. And, you know, without sports, I don't know where I'd be. So I'm really committed to seeing this thing work. Take care, guys, and Happy New Year.
Well, Happy New Year to you, Rudy. Appreciate that
Happy New Year,
call.
Rudy.
He got in 24606, and we have to take this break. We got Jerry Palm coming up next, and we'll dive back into that too, of course, with the Lobos, the men hosting Nevada in Lubbock, the women starting their conference play on the road. So we'll react to that coming next. Jerry Palm joins us. We'll talk about bowl season so far and look ahead to tomorrow's CFP semifinals. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Segura.
Forward dribble, spin cycle, up and under move. What a pass, wrap around pass.
Harris, Legate, the long bomb, 3 ball.
Oh, great steal by Quinteros, lays it up and scores.
Kahola, a little jump step in the... And look out, here comes Agbayosi. Crawford set. That's blocked. Lansing says, get that out of here. Sister to sister, Marianne Lansing's going to go all the way. Turnaround. Ramos, pump fake, everyone bites. Ramos hits. Jackson loses it. Jalen Bond back, LAU, put it down. Dunkalicious, how about it? Lovato driving. They're going to count it. Gallegos. Ooh, a little spin and a finish. Natalia Chavez. Good spin. Takes a...
Here's Ramos. Nice jump stop through the...
Played with gambling a little bit. Oh, there's a...
Hill, little step, high window, and a... Got the second.
The middle.
Here we go, 3.9. It's Cooper's going to run with it. Cooper's going to swing it out to Lowry. Lowry, Portillo couldn't get it off, and Clovis goes in. It's waved off. He did not get it off in time. Portillo. Reverse layup. Gallegos spins. Window finishes.
There's a run coming from
Lazy pass. Here comes Crawford. It might be showtime. Dang. Played over to Madrid. Plays it across the box off the dasher. It's settled. Shot on by Garcia. Trickles in. Goal.
Chavez blocked at the rim. And here's Dorian Lewis to Watson.
Else when the Sooners run you off the football field in the Cotton Bowl. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck joined by our quarterback, Ned James, this morning. And it's our final conversation, at least of 2020, with our good friend, Jerry Palm from CBS Sports. Jerry, good morning. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing good this morning.
I'm better than the Duke's Mayo Bowl trophy.
Oof, that's a tough one for Graham Mertz
not
to
that
celebrate.
that's a real high bar to get over, but you know.
Well, the trophy ended like the year did for a lot of people.
No kidding.
This season. It's been a difficult one for a lot of these teams, even more opt-outs than usual. But I didn't know that the Florida defense opted out of the season.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad day for Florida. Nothing went right. They had a moment in the second quarter where they put up a fight and got back into the game a little bit, and then Oklahoma went out back ahead of them, and it's just they looked out of sorts. And you know, your top four receivers are out due to either opt-outs or other. They weren't all opted out. I think there were some injuries involved, and then you only had 3 practices because you let the kids go home for Christmas, which is great. But then you look like a team that's had 3 practices with half the scout team playing on the first string, and they never had a rhythm. They just couldn't find their way.
Yeah, and there's been some of those games during bowl season, but others have been fantastic. And Liberty Coastal Carolina, Liberty wins 37-34 in overtime. A tremendous season for both these schools. What do you make of the outcome and what it means for them?
Well, I mean, I don't know that it means anything other than it was nice to see that game get played, because remember, that was the game that was canceled that opened the door for BYU to play Coastal Carolina. When Liberty was having COVID problems late in the season. And so it was nice to see that game get played. It was a pretty entertaining game. It ended, really it's just kind of a weird ending, right? Because isn't that the one where the kid fumbled the ball at the end of regulation? And then Liberty ended up winning on a blocked field goal, right, in overtime? Yeah, that was crazy. It was fun. Two great teams, had great seasons. I'm sure Coastal feels like it puts a damper on their season. I'm sure they wanted to finish undefeated, but they were one of the great stories in college football this season, and I don't think this changes that.
Hey, Jerry, Ned James here. One question I had is, I know the point spread with the Ohio State-Clemson game is pretty much what it's been all along, despite the fact that they're losing their OC. Do you really think there won't be any advantage for Ohio State as a result of Clemson losing their OC for this game?
No, I think that they'll be prepared. Losing a coach is different than losing a player. There's so many guys on these coaching staffs, especially at places like Clemson, that the preparation will be there. They'll know what to do. I don't think it's a big deal that the coach isn't there. I don't think it's much of an advantage for Ohio State. I think it's a bigger question is how healthy are these teams going into this game, because Ohio State in mid-November missed a game due to a COVID problem on their own team, and since then they've had about 20-some guys out every week related to COVID, including 5 or 6 starters, and it hasn't been the same guys every time. But if Ohio State is missing half a dozen starters this game, that's a much bigger deal than Clemson missing their offensive coordinator.
With Jerry Palms, CBS Sports, joining us here on the opening drive, and keeping it on that Clemson-Ohio State game, Jerry. The top receivers weren't there in the Big Ten title game. Justin Fields in the game.
Well, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is Olave going to be there? Their top 2 guys didn't play. It showed. And it kind of, in some ways, looked like Miami last night in the sense that the quarterback didn't have a rhythm with the receivers he's not used to practicing with. And it's different when you're missing 2 guys versus 4, because the third and fourth receivers will still play some. But it's still, you could tell they were never in a rhythm. And if Clemson can bring pressure on Ohio State and he doesn't have his top 2 receivers, it could really be a long day for that Ohio State offense. They need to be healthy to have a chance in this game. Clemson is too good for Ohio State to be able to just run out there with 20 guys missing and beat them.
Yeah, Jerry, we saw in round 2 the ACC championship game with a healthy defense, what Clemson did to Notre Dame. They're 19.5-point underdogs to Alabama. What is the secret formula for them to compete in the game?
Force turnovers, run the ball. Good luck doing either of those things. But, and maybe make plays on special teams. Anything they can do to get a short field for their offense. But they've got to be able to run the ball. They've got to be able to control some clock. They've got to be able to keep the Alabama offense off the field somewhat and shorten the game, if you will. It's going to be hard for Alabama to score 50 if Notre Dame is able to control the ball. So I think that's the formula. But it's really hard to do. They don't let you do it. So I don't know. I think that 3-touchdown line is fair. But it really says more about Alabama than Notre Dame, because this is a pretty good Notre Dame team. In fact, probably the best they've had in quite some time. Better than the one who was in the playoff 2 years ago, better than the one that got smoked by Alabama in the PCS title game. This Notre Dame team is better than those. Unfortunately, they're getting an Alabama team that is playing at elite level in arguably the history of college football. So they could lose by 3 touchdowns, and I don't really think that looks poorly on Notre Dame.
Yeah, Jerry. The other thing is Kelly, the head coach of Notre Dame. Are you expecting, or do you hear anything about him possibly leaving after this season, or are you pretty confident that he'll come back to Notre Dame?
I haven't heard anything about him leaving. Where would he go? NFL?
Yes.
I haven't heard anything about that. I'm up here in Northwest Indiana, so I'm an hour and a half from Notre Dame. I haven't heard a thing about that. That doesn't mean it won't happen, but I haven't heard anything about it.
I got one last question. Before we go in here, and this is outside of what we've been talking about as far as the college football playoffs. I just need your response on this. Jerry, you have to close your eyes and you have to pick a quarterback for your team in college football. That quarterback can only be from California or Texas. Which state are you taking the quarterback from?
Are you talking about a high school quarterback?
We can start there. We'll work our way up to the NFL.
Oh, okay. So any quarterback from a team, even an NFL team.
Yes. I'm saying if you had to pick a quarterback and you were thinking about, okay, I've got to go to a state to pick a quarterback. Am I going to Texas to get my quarterback for a high school team? Am I going to Texas to get my quarterback for a college team? Am I going to California to get my quarterback for a pro team? Which state are you going to?
Can I pick Deshaun Watson?
You got to pick Texas or California. It's not the Texas or California. What's that?
If I could pick Deshaun Watson, I'm going to Texas.
No, you got to pick a Texas or California.
So who has, talking about recruiting-wise, where have been the talent, correct?
Gosh, I would say that probably varies year to year. I guess I'd start with Texas, but I would guess that there are years that California's kids would probably be better.
Well, that's Jerry, I'm a California guy, but I think Texas has the best high school, college, and pro quarterbacks. If you do your research,
Drew, my favorite quarterback came from Austin, so I'm going Texas.
There you go, Drew Brees. Is that right, Jerry?
Yeah, Drew Brees. Yeah.
Texas high school quarterback. Well, Jerry, as always, we appreciate the time. Happy New Year to you and the family. Enjoy the games and the CFP this weekend.
All right, thanks. Take care.
Thanks, Jerry.
Jerry Palm at CBSSports.com. Yes, of course, Ned, going back to the quarterback. The California kid.
I tried to put him on the spot.
You always are trying to prove yourself against those high school quarterbacks. Because you like them. You like the kids that play Texas high school football. But you're a Cali kid. The debate, the rivalry. Where do you go to get your quarterback? Or maybe just get him from Rio Rancho High School. It's the opening drive here at 95.9 FM AM 610, the Sports Animal.
I'm not your grandma. I don't wear 12.
Wide, big deflection, goal.
With his first field goal. Look at that. That's gorgeous.
Not a game you can go have 25 turnovers in and win.
Get that out of here, Watson says. Here comes Hodnett all the way. He's blocked in return. Dickey, did he get it off? He did, and he hit it. They're really... Oliveras. Wild three, and it hit.
Another steal nearly by Hidon. It is a steal. Avalos ahead to Hidon. The two-hand hammer by Hidon. I knew he was going to put that one down.
ProView Networks tonight.
District mashup there.
Davidson took it away in transition. Might be time for a jam. Yes.
Oh! Big Barton, watch him, coach. Watch the inbounder.
Dumas Sanchez in the corner.
Back to Barton with 2.4 seconds left. Fires for the win.
And he got it!
It's good.
Oh my God!
On the last second shot.
He did.
Oh my God! Bakes it in from 25 feet and watch the celebration right in front of us. What a shot by Barton. He was double teamed and somehow found a way to get it in. Ramos to Gaxiola, high window for the win. It's good. It counts. Gaxiola with the game winner for a Driscoll Heritage.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Let's see if Melfi can cash it in. He's got some protection. Deep ball. Erickson's open. Touchdown, Monarchs.
Second and 10. Smith looking, and he's going to fire over the middle, and he's got his guy, and it's another big play. Walking away for a touchdown, Tristan Altier.
They're going to hand it off to Chavez. Chavez breaking tackles. Look out. Chavez up the sideline. Stays in bounds. Touchdown. Volcanovic.
That replay to just get the measurement. I mean, Smith's got a fire on first down, and he's on the outside. There's a lot of room for Brad Thomas. A move, and he's set free. Dance into the end zone. Touchdown. So it goes.
He'll run with it. Stumbling. Gets down into the end zone. And looking to throw it. And he throws it in the end zone. Caught!
First and 10 from the 11. And spin move for Smith. Push the B button. Dance into the end zone.
He'll throw it. Looking. Here comes the rush. Stepping up. Pavia now running around. Being chased. Looks across. Throws it up, man's wide open. Ball is caught. Touchdown. Jimmy Gaye. Chavez dropping, looking, stepping up. He's going to run. He's got a lot of green in front of him. To the end zone. Touchdown. Rio Rancho, Isaiah Chavez. Chavez set. He's going to run with it again and dives and...
It's Austin Smith, and to the outside, a lot of room. Look out, a foot race down the sideline. All the way on the first play from scrimmage, Chris. That's a touchdown.
Scrambling. And off, great hit. He bounces off, outside. Got some daylight at the 20, the 10, the 5. What an incredible run.
So where are you getting your quarterback from? Is it California? Is it Texas? Is it Rio Rancho? Jerry Palm's favorite quarterback, Drew Brees, because he went to Purdue, and Jerry Palm is an alum of Purdue University, but that is an Austin, Texas quarterback. I believe Lake Travis High School is Drew Brees, if I'm not mistaken. But there's some pretty good coaches all around, and talent can be found anywhere. This year was proof. Isaiah Chavez, true freshman walk-on from Rio Rancho, stepping up. I know that put a lot of life back into the state, not just for what the Lobos did, but the high school players in the state of New Mexico. Yeah, it's been a challenging season. They're not able to take the field, not able to go to class, go to school at all levels right now, but knowing that you're going to get a chance. And I think that's the biggest thing, too, with this Lobo coaching staff is they're going to survey the landscape. And if you can play, doesn't matter if you're from Rio Rancho, Alamogordo, Roswell, Cruces, they're going to give you that opportunity. You can earn your way onto the football field. Now, for Isaiah Chavez, it was injuries that got him there, but he was ready to go. And you just never know when your opportunity is going to present itself, and you got to be able to grab that bull by the horns. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, joined by Ned James, Michael holding it down, taking your calls. 2460610 is Equan's Auto Care Hotline. Got Jay Pole and Josh winding it down for 2020 in the ProView studios. Of course, you can watch us on Comcast Channel 26. Stream us online. Facebook is a great way to get involved with the show. Just search for ProView Networks or The Opening Drive. Give them a like and follow along. But looking at the college football playoffs, talking with Jerry Palm, and it's really who's going to be available. And for Ohio State, it was their top 2 receivers are not available against Northwestern. We saw Justin Fields really struggle, and the run game needed to come up big. Trey Sermon was huge in that second half. Well, now you're going up against a better football team that has a much better offense, a much better defense. And to me, I'm in on Alabama and Clemson. I think they're the 2 best teams right now in college football. I don't know how Notre Dame keeps it close, because Jerry had a good point. He believes that this is the best Notre Dame team that we've seen, even the one that went to the BCS title game, even the one that's went to the playoffs, and yet there's still 19.5-point underdogs to Alabama.
Well, they don't have the speed that Alabama has. That is the only thing that's hurting them, because Saban even pointed out that the lines are both much more aggressive than they've seen before with Notre Dame. And he specifically pointed to that particular area, but he mentioned nothing about the guys outside, the receivers and defensive backs, because he's not worried about those guys. And so he knows he can roll them in. He can roll his thoroughbreds in like it's nothing. He's got them 5 deep over there at Alabama as far as the skilled guys in the secondary, at receiver, at running back. There's just a plethora of them in Alabama. So I think from that standpoint, I think Jerry was right that, despite Alabama having such a great team, the Alabama team is just too strong and just too formidable for this Notre Dame team. But I do think Ohio State has a better chance. I don't like to concede, I should say, to the South. With our national championship in college football. So I'm not going to give Clemson that big of an advantage over Ohio State. I'd like to see Ohio State make it competitive, get it into the fourth quarter, and we see what happens. I think he doesn't believe that it should matter much as far as the OC not being there. I think you need everybody hitting on all cylinders when you get to this part of the season. Everybody's got the issues because of the COVID. But at the same time, I do think, missing that offensive coordinator, it's worth a couple of points. I don't know which way it'll swing as far as how many points are needed for Ohio State to get over that hump to win this game. But I'm looking forward to a pretty competitive game, and I'm hoping that we get an Ohio State-Alabama championship game as opposed to, the South shall rise again, and the Confederates winning down south.
I'm with you. I'd love to see it. I think Clemson is just the outright better football team. Justin Fields. We've seen these quarterbacks, whether we're talking about Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, Kyle Trask last night not having these guys, it throws everything off. You still need your playmakers available. And Justin Fields, though, this is, we're talking about quarterbacks under pressure. He's under a lot of it because he struggled against that Northwestern defense, which was solid, but it's nothing like what they're going to see from Clemson. I want a competitive game. I want these games to be good. It should matter more for college football, but I just think right now when you look at Alabama and Clemson, they're just so far ahead of everyone else. To your point, the speed on the outside. Devontae Smith, I think he's the best offensive player in football this season. Mac Jones, the quarterback, has been so much better than I thought he would. He came in at the end of last year after Tua got hurt. You're wondering, all right, what kind of player is he going to be? Maybe he hasn't quite hit the ceiling Tua had, But you look at his passes downfield. This is a number that jumped out to me. He's completing 63% of his passes that travel 15 or more yards. And so if you have a guy that's putting the football where it needs to go with explosive players, yeah, that's why you get an Alabama offense that's averaging 49 points per game.
Yeah, Alabama is just, they're on a whole other level. I'm just speaking just for the Clemson Notre Dame. I don't think Clemson is on that much of a higher level than Ohio State. Ohio State is not as formidable up front. Is the only place I'm worried about. And I don't. If they start rolling through the points on Ohio It could get ugly in that game.
The CFP semifinals tomorrow. Fingers crossed for a good football game. It should be a one-touchdown game, Clemson versus Ohio State. And the Golden Domers of Notre Dame, they're going to need a lot of help to stay in that game against Alabama. We'll take your thoughts, 246-0610, Quan's Auto Care Hotline. You can email the show, jj@610knml.com. And it is also game day for the Lobo men and women. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Opportunity here. Martinez shoots, he scores.
Cut into it. Had some nice looks at the rim. Win. Inside. They're not going to miss this one. Two-hand hammer for Murillo.
Ball's played up. Rodriguez with it. Gonna settle. Looks to the inside. Comes to the far side push. Shot on and goal. Deflected in. No.
Dorian's going to go all the way. It was blocked by the rim. Get it out, says Kobe Wade. Ramos. Got it. Look out. Ramos, can he chase it down? It was a freebie. Saved it. And then stolen. And somehow Hansberry's got it back. Handoff. Watson.
Get it stripped. Danion stripped him. Compiling the other way. Win up top to the big goal. Here he comes.
For the lead. Got it.
What a great game plan. Look at this.
Agbayosi throws it down.
Ramos, rise and fire. He's fouled.
You know, he used to coach for Del Norte. And
here's Voss all the way with the finish. He'll get the. Behind the back of the dribble. Trying to go up with the right hand. He changed hands in midair. And Hotnet sent it away. Wynn doing a really good job denying Chavez. DC hasn't got the ball. Oh, Yeku. Oh. Working against Watson. Oh, look at the spin move.
loose. DJ Bustos brings it up. Barnes Tompkins, alley-oop. How about it? That was redunculous.
Turnover. Cable to the big fella might try to jam on home.
The pressure is on, and that's what sports are about. Rising to the challenge, taking that challenge head on. Whether it's the Lobos responding after what happened in Boise last week, or you look ahead to Week 17 of the NFL season, win and you're in games. Who are you betting on? Who do you believe can get the job done under pressure? It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. JJ Buck, joined by our quarterback, Ned James. Michael holding it down at Radio Ranch. We got J. Pole and Josh on the ProView side. Final show of 2020, but oh so much still to dive into in this final hour from us. Quan's Auto Care hotline is 2460610. You can email the show, jj at 610canamel.com. The Cleveland Browns have shut down the facility for day number 2 with some COVID issues. Now, at this point in the season, how much are you really doing on the field when we're talking about kind of like Wednesday, Thursday of a game week?
You're doing a lot. There's a lot of preparation that goes into every week. The players have the day off on Tuesdays. Guys are just kind of shaking off their licking their wounds on Mondays when you come in after a game. So Wednesday and Thursday are the real heavy work days that you have. And then Friday, you're kind of tapering for the game. You're putting in some of your red zone stuff, a little bit of your short yards, your goal line if you need to practice it. And then, of course, Saturday, you're just doing walkthroughs. So those are heavy work days. Guys have had to work through Zooms. This has been an unusual year, so they're probably used to kind of not having these big work days when they've had these virus issues pop up. But typically in the NFL, Wednesday and Thursday are the heavy work days as far as preparation goes, and seeing what works and getting stuff on film and seeing what stuff you need to put in and take out. So the Cleveland Browns, I mean, they're in a tough situation because they're trying to get into the playoffs. So it's really interesting to see how they perform as a result of not having those days to work.
A win and you're in situation for Cleveland. 2460610, Quan's Auto Care hotline. James, you're on the opening drive. What's up, James? How you doing?
Hey, good morning, guys. Thank you for having me on.
Appreciate it, man. What's up?
We're talking about two things. Notre Dame does not belong in this top 4. It should have been either Cincinnati, Texas A&M, or somebody, but the only reason they're there is because they bring up a fan base and they bring in money. That's the only reason they're there. And the other thing, you guys are talking about California quarterbacks and Texas quarterback. Right now in the NFL, California has the number one quarterback, and that is Aaron Rodgers. He's from California. So that ends everything you guys talked about. Thank you for having me on, and you guys have a great day.
I appreciate it, James. So he's going Cali. He's saying Aaron Rodgers is the flavor du jour, NFL MVP, California.
Well, the Texas guys haven't called in yet. These Texas guys, they got a good argument. Now, we've got a lot of California. You got Tom Brady. You got Josh Allen. You've got, who else are we looking at? We've got a lot of California guys outside of Aaron Rodgers in the NFL. But the people, the Texans with the Drew Breeses and the Baker Mayfields, Kyler Murray's, they've got a good argument too. So, I mean, it's interesting if you add them all up. If guys can go in and add them all up, it'll be pretty close. With the California versus Texas. I love this debate. JJ will never get into it with me. I love it, especially when it comes to high school guys. Although, hey, I like Isaiah Chavez too. I wanted Isaiah Chavez's autograph after those last two games. I mean, he really did perform in a special way, and so I agree with Rudy from that standpoint. But the California-Texas thing is always intriguing to me, and I always get guys. Even when I was coaching up in Cleveland, I had the scouts going bananas on a kid from Abilene Christian that we played against that reminded them of Baker Mayfield, and they thought, wow, he is kind of like him, man. And I thought, yeah, okay, he's a Texas high school kid. That's why they kind of all are similar in a lot of ways in the style and the way they play. And I've just noticed that over the years. And I remember arguing with my good friend Greg Knox, who's on the sideline at Florida with the Gators yesterday, who JJ voted for their quarterback second in the Heisman race, who, by the way, is a California quarterback playing at Florida. Kyle Trask, which I know is driving Greg Knox crazy, because that's all we ever argued about when we were coaching at TCU, where Rocky was. We all coached on defense in Texas. We would argue daily about, because he was a high school quarterback and I was a quarterback, and we would talk about who had the best quarterbacks, California or Texas. But it's a great debate. I wish more people would get involved in it, because there's a lot of really good players. But we'll see. I'm glad James jumped in on that.
Go back to the phones. Lance, you're on the opening drive. What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, JJ, it kind of reminds me of our 2 o'clock in the morning calls. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I was there for you, right?
Middle of the night. You were there.
Yeah, middle of the night in the empty bar. There's Lancer. But anyway, Elway is the best quarterback of all time, and he's from California, Ned. So I didn't hear too much about that. He is the best because he had no team. It was all him, brother. And anyway, I think of these days right now to where I was crawling in the snow last week or and a half ago. I had slipped and hit my head on the back and broke my tailbone. And I'm crawling and trying to swim through the ice, and I felt hot breath. I was like, what the heck's going on? And some stomp. It's like to wake me up, to keep me going. I was just going to give up. It's like finally it's my time, and I was it's just hideous. And I finally crawled in, knocked over the cabinet to where I could search for the phone. And the firefighters, they came back to visit me yesterday. It was like to see how are you doing, man. Yeah, there was a whole group of horses, a whole group of horses with their heads stuck in the door. And I see them every morning. I got to where they were scared of me, to where now I can pet them because I feed them apples and stuff. And that's probably what saved my life. The horses did. And it's the craziest thing I ever saw. When we showed up, they were defensive for you. I was like, don't mess with my horses, my Broncos, baby.
They were Broncos.
But anyway, hey, for Malamute and Jeffrey, I think, is the other guy after me that picked Holly home to win that fight. Hands, bloody hands, reaching out, punching me, punching you, sweet Holly Holm. Your ground game never
I appreciate the phone call, Lance. Way to go out on top. Good to hear you back, man. You know,
yeah, good to hear you,
did
Lance.
suffer that incident, was in the hospital, so great to hear you're doing well and you're back to being a part of our dysfunctional sports animal family. And what a way to go out on top in 2020. Good job right there, Lance. He got in 24606 Energy Quan's Auto Care Hotline. You can as well. Still so much to dive into. We'll hit it all we can in the final show of 2020, heading into a huge weekend. It's game day for the Lobo men and women. CFP Week 17 NFL action. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Zoom, 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 zoom.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Call it as Bobby's looking, and he's got a guy wide open, and it's Gay, and he's gonna walk into the end zone. But he did a good job with it. First and goal, it's Chavez to the middle, and Chavez stops.
And Stevens in motion. On the handoff to Mitchell. Look out! Oh, see you later. Take it to the house. Fly, Cardinals fly. To the other side, provides some protection. And off to Webskowski again. Look out! See you later. Good night. Touchdown, Webskowski. An 8. 2 receivers at the top. Harris has all day. He's going to fire to the end zone. Open man. Touchdown. Wildcat. Not a defender inside.
A little bit.
Webskowski on the sideline. Hasta mañana. He's off to the races. Touchdown, Clovis.
Albuquerque this afternoon.
34-24. Rancho late in the third. How about this run? Nice play. Deckerman. He's still on his feet. Touchdown, Wolverine.
Exactly what they want to get yards.
He's going to go for it. He's got a guy towards the end zone. It's Krebs. Touchdown. What a play.
And long here for the Storm. Handoff to, we're going to fake the handoff, excuse me. Davidson on the deep ball. He's got some space, and it's caught. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Storm. Wow. Santa Maria.
And so they'll send one deep and returnable at the 2. Usually Volcano do either a reverse or a fake reverse, and here it is a reverse. And a move to the outside. There is a lane. Look out! Shot out of a cannon. Rodriguez is going to take it all the way.
I'll just get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what he'll
just shoot it.
He's going to go all the way.
He's gonna fire at the buzzer and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much.
district. Inside, fly, Eagles.
Chavez uses some athleticism. And then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds. And look at this, stripped, stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Couldn't have said that any better. He answered the question. He
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
To the paint. Medina from the volleyball line. Medina wants another one from deep. He wants 10. Give him 10.
Lewis finds Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Channel Vista, but just all the different scenarios we could see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.
So where are you going to find your quarterback? You can get one from anywhere, but Ned is a Cali kid, played quarterback at the University of New Mexico. He likes the California quarterbacks, but once you got into coaching, you realized, man, those Texas kids, there's something about them. Yeah. They're on the up and up with Texas high school football, or you can go right here in your own backyard and maybe find the starter of your future in the state of New Mexico. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, joined by Ned James, Micah, holding it down at Radio Ranch. We got Jay Pohl and Josh on the ProView side. So I found a list. That's not all of them, but it's talking about the best right now. And it might be advantage for the state of Texas. Of course, we already know we started it off. Drew Brees, Westlake High School, Austin, Texas. How about Patrick Mahomes, White House, Texas, Texas quarterback. Matthew Stafford, Highland Park High School, Dallas, Texas. Kyler Murray, Allen, Texas, Allen High School. Andy Dalton, Katy, Texas, product. Ryan Tannehill, Big Spring, Texas. Baker Mayfield, Lake Travis, Texas. Nick Foles, Super Bowl MVP, Westlake High School, Austin, Texas. They put Case Keenum on the list. I don't know. Case Keenum's there, but he went to Wiley High School in Abilene, Texas. Derek Carr, Sugar Land, Texas. So what do you think of that list of Texas quarterbacks, Ned?
Pretty good, pretty good. But when you go to the California ones, it's going to be close.
I'm still looking for a list from California. They're not as proud. They're not as proud of their quarterbacks as Texas is. Because you look this up, there's story after story after story about Texas high school quarterbacks. Trying to find it from California, not as easy. So I'm still searching, but we know. All right, Aaron Rodgers there. Josh Allen, I did not think of him as a California quarterback. That is my fault. That is my bad stereotyping of a quarterback, because I'm like, this dude's playing in Laramie, this dude's playing in Buffalo. There's no way he's a Cali kid.
Brady played in New England. He's a California guy. And so, I was looking at those names as well, and I was trying to figure out, and I kept coming up with Texas guys like you. The fact that I had Josh Allen, I had Brady, of course we have Aaron Rodgers, and I was trying to go around the league, just, Lance threw me off with the Elway because I grew up at Elway. Elway was my first hero. Elway, I took the bus from East LA at night to go watch Elway play in an All-Star game, in the Shrine All-Star game, when he was a senior. He's about 4 years older than I am, at the Coliseum. And it was the most incredible performance I had ever seen from a high school, college, or pro quarterback in that Shrine. It was an all-state All-Star game. At the time, and he's always been a favorite of mine. But the California numbers add up equally with the Texas numbers, but the Texas numbers, there are a lot of Texas, because I like to tease my Texas buddies about how the California guys, and we have what's considered, even though he's the cheater, Tom Brady, we have the GOAT. We have Tom Brady right now, so as a California quarterback. So there's not a whole lot of arguing that people will do with the California guys. I know a lot of people are calling in and giving all the list of quarterbacks out of California right now, and Aaron Rodgers being close to winning the MVP this year. I think a lot of people are pulling on him, but I think with Patrick Mahomes playing the way he did last year, the Texas people are screaming from the rooftops as far as them being the elite place for quarterback talent.
Here's an issue. Derek Carr was born in California, so he's a California kid. He might have played high school football in Texas, but does that make him a Cali or Texas? Because he played high school football, so he's got to be a Texas kid then, right? Or is he a California kid?
If you were born in California, you're a California guy, and you went to Texas to play. So
he went to Texas to play high school football, but then came back to Fresno State to play college football. So who gets to claim Derek Carr?
Well, the only reason why he went to Texas to play high school football was because his brother was playing for the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
So that was the only reason why he was in Texas. It wasn't because he was a Texas guy. He just went down there because his brother was the first overall pick, who, by the way, was a California guy who played for the Houston Texans. But that's where we are. We get into these debates all the time. I always like it because I like to get into debates with the Southerners who believe that they invented college football, and so they always brag about how great they are. And I have to talk to them about California.
How it's the top two. Like, how much weight does Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers hold in this conversation? Because the rest, I think it's pretty good. So you give me Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Josh Allen right now in this conversation. That's pretty darn good because that makes up for Matt Barkley. That makes up for Sam Darnold and Matt Moore and Jared Goff. Hey, they're not terrible.
Yes. But I mean, the Matthew Stafford and the Patrick Mahomes, pretty good up there, I think. And I know people don't like Matthew Stafford. I'm a Matthew and Drew Brees. Those three guys, Matthew Stafford, Drew Brees, and Patrick Mahomes, they can rival Aaron Rodgers, Brady, and Josh Allen right now. So those top three, and if people called in and say, I would rather take Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, and Matthew Stafford over Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and who do we say? Josh Allen. That's good. I mean, if we're voting here, who are we voting with? I see you struggling there.
Oh, that one's tough, Ned. That one's tough. Well, right now, I'm gonna go with the dudes. I'm gonna go with the California guys. If I can get Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady in this conversation, I think Patrick Mahomes is right now the dude I'd want. I think like a Mahomes-Rodgers duel would be fantastic and would be a wonderful Super Bowl. I think Stafford he could not catch a break this season. The injury is the back. He sprained his ankle. Never could get on the same page, it felt like, with Matt Patricia. So he's definitely one of those guys that he has all the talent, and it's a question of, has it been the franchise or is it him? And is there one last ride for Matthew Stafford, whether it's in Detroit or somewhere else? And like, what kind of value would Matthew Stafford bring to a team that feels like they're good, but maybe not getting over the hump? If you're the Indianapolis Colts next year, would you trade a first-round pick for Matthew Stafford? Because you only had Philip Rivers on a one-year contract. Like, what is the future hold for him? Because it feels like it'll be more of the same. Now, if you take a job, that's an interesting question too. When you look forward, right now there's only 3 openings in the NFL. It's Houston, Atlanta, and Detroit. What is the best job? I think Houston, like, if you give me the opportunity to move forward with Deshaun Watson, I'll take my chances. I would even say Atlanta would be number 2. And you're like, well, how would Atlanta be number 2? But it's this perception of Detroit. How do they get over the hump? Because no one will deny the arm talent of Matthew Stafford, but what's left for him to do in Detroit? And would it make sense for a team to, say, trade a first-round pick to bring him in next year?
Well, he's got to win. And I think, hasn't he won a conference championship there? When they were Caldwell, they won. They've never won since Aaron Rodgers and the Vikings and the Bears. They have, because I love that division. I just really do love that NFC North division. But he's got to win a division championship before anybody even considers him, worthy of being considered a great quarterback. But boy, I tell you what, he's a really talented quarterback. I really like him. I've always liked him from the first time he came into the league. But I don't know if anybody's going to trade, or try to acquire someone with the amount of years he's played and some of the injuries that he's kind of had over the years. But boy, he's really a good player. And like you said, those top three, it makes it tough. It makes it tough for the Texas guys versus the California guys. If you looked at it, because Matthew Stafford is really an elite talent. I mean, if you had personnel guys and you showed them these two lists, I'm almost positive they would really have to consider because of Matthew Stafford. They would downgrade Drew Brees probably a little bit and bring up Matthew Stafford a little bit as far as talent. And so, that's the great debate. I love having that debate with people, especially every year, because every year it changes. And you mentioned the Sam Darnolds and the younger guys and the Jared Goffs and those guys that are starters in the league that are California guys that that are rising stars. But it's all about those elite guys, and so. I love having that debate, and everybody wants to throw in quarterbacks from that are good players that are other teams from some other place. But at the end of the day, the teams, the states that produce the most, and it's consistently every year, is Texas and California. And so it's always fun to get on the guys from. And I like to use it because I always got into debates with guys in the South when I coached in the South. It always was in the South that you have these issues because they'll come up with guys in the South.
Is everything in the South, no doubt about it. But there you go, California, Texas, maybe even Rio Rancho, where are you getting your quarterback from? It's Opening Drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
More NFL games.
Moreno extra pass, and Watson. Out with it, Gallegos, and he's gonna run all the way. Window, yes! Able to get out of it. How did he find Battle? It's to Cunningham, and it...
Ramos' hand. And
Ramos puts it up, beats the buzzer!
Boy, Jefferson wide open.
Jefferson to Daraji! Into Watson with the jam!
Another steal by Domino Lovato, and here comes Agbaiosi. Lob, two-hand hammer. You knew that was coming. The lob tagged by Osi, the one-hand hammer.
Put up. And a drive from Parham. Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
creates space. He gives it off to Rivas for the three, and he buries it. Coming in soon, double pick set for Avalos. Goes to the right. Avalos puts it up high, window, scores it as foul.
Right here by Lewis all the way, coast to coast, and finish.
What a...
Around the screen, against White, step back, it's blocked! JB with the block!
In transition, ahead to hit on for the two-hand hammer.
Minutes to go. They've got a shot. They have a chance, and it's put up, and it's good. What a three that is by Jalen.
Hidon puts it up.
Rebound Cowboys. Right side David Hall. Thank you very much. Here come the Cowboys. Domino Lovato lays it up. Missed it. Hey, how about it? Thank you, Lusses. Thank you very much, Raquan Mitchell. Clock at 6. They get it. Barnes Tompkins fires. Yes! Pass up court. This for the win. Blocked by DJ Bustos. Cowboys win.
At the stroke of midnight on that great holiday, gonna have a ball, and that ain't all. Gonna chase the blues away. I'll be bringing in a band.
Well, ringing in the new year for the Lobos. You're doing it in Reno, Nevada, and Lubbock, Texas. If you're a Lobo fan, you're doing it from home, enjoying it as it is game day, final day in 2020. Fingers crossed, better days ahead. Stay positive, keep your head up, keep going forward. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, joined by Ned James, Micah, playing you some tunes in the background. ProView Network's guys, Rock and J. Pole and Josh. You can catch us on Comcast Channel 26. Stream us online, Facebook. Search ProView, search the opening drive, find us. Interact throughout the show. Give us a call, 246-0610 is Equan's Auto Care Hotline. Email jj@610canamel.com. And there's a lot of New Year's resolutions, I'm sure, for a lot of people. For the Lobo men, just be better results on the basketball court, hosting Steve Alford, Craig Neal, and the Nevada Wolfpack in Lubbock, Texas tonight. It's a 7 p.m. tip-off, 6:30 pregame. Robert Portnoy and Hunter Green on the UNM Sports Radio Network. And it's about getting that ball in the basket. We can talk about the effort, the energy, the attitude, defense, etc., but you got to find a way to score. And it's, once again, looking at the point guard, Jeremiah Francis, who has started the season just 8 of 37 from the field. Saquon Singleton, who's someone that Hunter Green pointed at as saying, I think this guy can help ignite this offense. Javante Johnson. Keith McGee, when you speak about social media, Lobos posted an Instagram post yesterday that showed Keith McGee working out. Now, I don't know if it was from, say, last week or this week, but that would be a huge boost to this offense to get one of your shooters back, one of the few guys that you know, hey, he's made shots at the Division I level. But, Ned, what are you hoping to see? Of course, top of the list, we get a victory, but what are you hoping to see out of the Lobo men tonight?
Well, I'm hoping to see this Jeremiah Francis really his game kind of elevate itself to where he gets better shots, that he's affecting the game, where he's getting other guys opportunities to score, whether he's getting to the free throw line or whether he's creating fast breaks, something where I see that he's a valuable part of this team, either one side of the ball or the other, whether it's defense or offense, one side, I just got to see something more from Jeremiah Francis, or they need to move on. They need to try to find some other way to play the game, or some other guard. I know they're really kind of worried about having that point guard out there on the court, but somebody else is going to have to step in. He just looks like he's out of sorts. Maybe he needs to take a step back and maybe watch it for a little while and then come back in. But I just need to see more from him. And Saquon Singleton, I got to see him score the ball. I mean, it's one thing to have that look and to be that guy and have people say that, hey, he's the one guy that could make the difference. But I've got to see him do it. Like, I've got to see him. We've got to see him put the ball in the basket and have one of those great games that, some of these players have on occasion. Because we haven't had anybody just jump out and have a great game. So I'm looking forward to that from those two guys. Those are the two guys that I want to see match up against someone from Nevada, and we can't say at the end of the game, well, that guy played better than Saquon Singleton, or that guy played better than Jeremiah. So I just want to see those two guys shine and do well. And then if they do well, I think this team will be successful.
Quan's Auto Care Hotline, 2460610. Vince, you're on the opening drive. What's going on, Vince?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Happy New Year to both of you. Yeah, I wanted to get Ned's perspective because I know he's the aficionado when it comes to all things football. I get tired of week in, week out juggernaut that is the SEC by OU. And I know that they had several players that opted out and they were missing a lot of their receivers, but receivers don't tackle and receivers don't block, and they just got manhandled last night. I wish they'd start calling SEC what it really is. It's Alabama and everyone else, because like Auburn and LSU, they're great for a good team every decade. Then after that, it's a huge drop off. South Carolina's terrible, Missouri's terrible. Vanderbilt couldn't win in the Conference USA. Both the Mississippi schools are usually terrible. Arkansas is terrible. Tennessee's terrible. Kentucky's is average at best. And then you have the paper tiger, Georgia. Every year preseason, Georgia's going to do it. This is the Georgia team. And they usually wind up with 3 or 4 losses. And then A&M, they couldn't even make it in the Big 12. They've got a good season this year with their signature win against Florida, but then they beat all these other teams in the SEC, like Missouri. They beat all these teams that are just not very good. I just get so sick and tired of hearing how great the SEC is, because I really don't think they are. I really don't think it's as coveted as it makes it out to be, and I think that it's Alabama and everybody else. But I wanted to sit back and get your all's perspective again. Happy New Year, and I'll hang up and listen to you guys. Thanks.
Happy New Year,
Vince. And you just made Ned the happiest man on the planet.
I think that was exceptional. And I was just getting ready to say, is this my brother from another mother that's calling him Vince? That's his new name, Vince, my brother from another mother. Because I'm absolutely there with you, Vince. As far as Alabama goes, yes, Alabama's salary cap, they overspent the salary cap down in the SEC, so they were able to get the best players out of the South. And LSU, those are the two top teams down there. Now, as far as how football's played west of the Mississippi River and north of the Mason-Dixon line, that's for another discussion, because the SEC absolutely believes they've invented football down in the South, and the preseason polls don't do any of the schools any favors north of the Mason-Dixon line or west of the Mississippi River, because it's always tilted towards that SEC and the perception of the SEC because of the amount of coverage that they give to the SEC, because of what they're making themselves out to be down south as far as college football is concerned. And I understand that. They sell a lot of tickets. There's a lot of hoopla around college football in the Deep South. I get it, yes. But they did not invent football. They are not that superior over the rest of the country when it comes to college football. Now, because they're not playing the schools in the West, and they don't play the schools in the Midwest, and they kind of assume once they beat up on each other that, hey, because we've won all the games in the South, we should be playing each other like Florida, considering themselves essentially co-national champs because they lost to Alabama in the SEC championship game, and then they get steamrolled by Oklahoma. It's to me, it's neither here nor there. You cannot. And I can go on and on about the SEC.
You're right. Vince is right on. Like, people in college football see through the BS. We know how good Alabama is. Don't sell me on Vanderbilt. Do you know who tried to tell me Kentucky was good at football all year long? The other guy on the Zoom call, Micah. He was trying to ride for Kentucky. Like, Mark Stoops was bringing the powerhouse. How'd that work out for you? Did they find a quarterback? No. Who fired their coach this year? South Carolina did like 3 games into this ridiculous season. Yeah, tell me when someone else other than Alabama shows up. His point on Georgia was great. You know, yeah, Kirby Smart comes from the Saban tree. He ain't doing anything. Florida fell apart last night, was embarrassed on the football field. Last I checked, you didn't have your 11 starting defenders opt out of that football game. Just run down the list. It's right on, but it's also branding and messaging, and it's a part of the game in college athletics. And it's what the Mountain West has to do better moving forward to push back against the American Athletic Conference. Like, you always have work to do, whether you're the Mountain West, the Pac-12. They do need a team to show up and win one of these games. And it didn't help that USC was beat by Oregon, the second-place team in the North, in the Pac-12 title game. But that is why, ultimately, too, for college football to continue to rise as the second most popular sport in the country, which it has shown to be, they need to get everyone involved. That is why it has to get to 8. You have to say, hey, you win your conference, Power 5 standpoint, you get in. So we know there's no arbitrary, well, we think this team is pretty good, we'll rank them here. Oh, but they play in the SEC, they're so good. The most tired narrative this season was Texas A&M sitting there at 5, saying somehow that they were the team that was, they should have been in there because they won 7 SEC games. Who did you beat? Who did you beat? You beat a Florida team that fell apart, and to Ned's point, lost by a touchdown at Alabama, so they thought they were the best thing since sliced bread. Yes, the SEC narrative is overblown, but it's also because Alabama has been so much better than everyone else. They are the ship that is pulling everyone else along. But he is dead on in the SEC. It's a narrative. It's a brand, and you got to push back on that. You got to win some of these games. Notre Dame could be good, but they're still 19.5-point underdogs to Alabama. I think college football has an opportunity that they need to seize moving forward. It's getting everyone on the same page, getting everyone to care about their national champion. And how you do that is, I don't care if a team's 19.5-point underdogs, is you give them a chance to play that game. You say, you know what? Here's our Pac-12 champion. Here's the best we have. Let's go. Let's play it out on the field.
Right, and the SEC selling tickets. They're, like you said, they're branding. They're doing all those things that an organization has to do in order to be successful and to be in the spotlight. And that's why they're getting the spotlight. And the rest of the schools around the country aren't in it because of the way the college football playoffs are set up. You're right. The preseason polls I do not like. I know those people say that they're not. The college football playoffs they don't rely on those preseason polls, but they do. And I don't care what anybody says. And so that's why, we have to get more teams, like you said, to the party. And then when we do that, I think eventually, things will settle down and we won't have this, kind of demographic challenge that we have with the SEC being perceived as this, just this great.
Because when you think about it, how crazy is it that college football, this should be the biggest day for them. The start of the CFP. They're playing for a national championship. And you have 3/4 of the country that's like, whatever. Because they don't even have a shot at participating in it. And that is a problem. I'm still going to enjoy it because it's what we have right now, the CFP. But it can be that much better for everyone in college football. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Cordova tried to throw it off Romero. A three for
Set out to Jutapia. Nice move behind his back. It's a good. Here's Ramos. Step back. High arcing. Twine.
But he needed to get his legs back under him.
Ooh, a little kick.
They leave it one more time. Two-hand hammer. Up top! Yes, and the finish for Akbayosi. Saved into the hands of Riak, ahead of the pack. Davina Lovato up high, down hard for Akbayosi. Out of the corner, Casals, the 3-0, Katenge! Let me clean up the mess. He dropped out of the rafters for that one, Steve.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
Yeah, they got in. He got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides looking, still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
Third and 6. Big defensive play coming up here. Little trickery to Reese. See you later. Touchdown. They went for the deep ball to Reese.
To the right, single receiver split to the left. Play fake, head up off the middle, got some room. 50, 45, 40, has one man to beat. 30, 25, 10, 5, touchdown. Touchdown, Hope.
Wow.
On a
Option again, he'll keep it. Now he'll pitch it. Comes out to the 30, 25, 20, up the sideline. Still inbounds, into the end zone. Let's see.
Touchdown.
Touchdown, Portell.
The outside of running an out route.
Davis in the play action, looking. He's going to go back to Lewis, and Lewis makes a cut, and Lewis still on his feet. Dorian Lewis is in for a touchdown. So Davison back to toss, and he's got all day. It's one miss, and he's rolling. He's got a guy. Can he get it there? Davison to Luke Weissong.
Merry New Year to one and and all.
Happy New Year.
As we send out 2020, head into 2021 with a loaded weekend for sports fans, and one where, guess what? I'm going to be on my couch like I have been all year long, enjoying what's on TV. But a busy day today, as it is game day, right here on The Sports Animal. 2:30 pregame starts. Lobo women at Nevada. I'll be on the call alongside Nikki Heckroth-Lobato, who's joining me for the first time this year, so very excited about that, having Nikki on the call. Look forward to that game. And can the women keep their hot shooting up heading into conference play? 103 points per game. Yeah, the competition is going to be tougher, but they can shoot the basketball. There's no doubt about it. They got some shooters on this squad, so that should be fun to watch tonight in Reno. I caught up with Josh Shushan on Tuesday, talked with him. Great to catch up with Josh, who's now the voice of Nevada women's basketball this season. So best of luck to him moving forward. Great to hear, because he hit me up. He's like, hey man, when are you going to be in Reno? I'm so excited. I'm like, well, not quite what's happening at this moment in time, but we got you covered with the game. Same for the men tonight, who is hosting the Wolfpack in Lubbock. That will be Robert Portnoy and Hunter Green, 6:30 pregame, UNM Sports Radio Network over on News Radio KKOB. Opening drive, JJ Buck, joined by Ned James, Micah, J. Pole, and Josh on the ProView side. Got this email from Terry, JJ at 610canwell.com. He said, very sad to hear the passing of TV icon Don Wells, Marianne of Gilligan's Island. Tough way to finish the year. Happy to hear Lance on the show. Happy New Year to the whole morning crew, even the Patriot-hating Ned James, who does have it right when some SEC players take a pay cut to go to the NFL. Tonight it's time for a little man with little men, so a little, comma, men without hats, and on to a new year. That is from Terry. Of course, yes, were you Marianne, were you Ginger? It was Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
I had to Google it because I did not watch much of Gilligan's Island. That was a little before my time. What team were you on, Ned?
Yeah, I was definitely on Team Marianne on Gilligan's Island, and I loved Gilligan's Island. Ginger, a little bit too sophisticated, risque for me. I like the down-home girl in Marianne. So, but Gilligan's Island is one of my favorite shows. Great show. Gilligan was absolutely hilarious. You have to, I guess growing up in that era, you just really you appreciated the fact that these guys were stuck on an island and could not get off, and there was always something that kept them stuck on the island. So it was pretty funny.
Now we just throw real people on an island and tell them you got to survive and make it a TV show.
we call it Fight Island, and we call it Bubbles and Fight Islands. So
I don't know who would the new school be? Who is our Ginger and Marianne? Do we have J. Pole? Do we have one? Do you know, man? Can you answer this question?
You guys have Beyonce. You have Beyonce now, and who else is another?
Do we have something like that we can hold on to?
Hey,
Am I missing anything?
What's the singer? What's the singer that Kanye West went up and?
Kim Kardashian?
No, they took the trophy from her at the music awards.
Oh, yeah, it was Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift and Beyonce.
Hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna let you finish. But I gotta say something.
That's my age.
Kanye.
Yeah, little Tay-Tay is our sweetheart. She's the darling of our generation.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, that's tough. We don't necessarily have a Ginger or Mary.
But you gotta throw Beyonce out there. Isn't Beyonce because that's all my daughter talks about is freaking Beyonce, Queen Bee. She calls it Queen Bee, or Queen Bey or whatever. But Beyonce and Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
But no, iconic shows, sitcom shows. No one watches TV.
Not to that level where it creates that kind of debate on which team you're on.
Kaylee Kuko from Big Bang Theory, but
nothing. Just doesn't have the same oomph, man. We're that streaming generation. We're on to everything else, man. We're not as simple and funny as Gilligan's Island, just
I used to love
humor.
Well, my daughter was small. I used to really love Miley Cyrus, because she was on a little show that
Hannah
Montana. But then she went risque, and then it was like, I don't want my daughter looking at her anymore. What's wrong with her? But I liked her Hannah Montana.
1 minute.
The Hannah Montana song, and then she went risque, and it's like, what the heck is this?
Oh no! What are these young girls becoming? We'll see. I don't know. Marianne or Ginger, we'll have to figure out what the new generation's version.
Dakota Fanning's our Ginger.
Okay. We can get there. We'll have to save that for the new
think of something
year. A big thank you to everyone. Ned, thanks for hanging out with us this entire week. Pro of you guys, great work as always. Happy New Year to y'all. Micah, I will talk to you a little bit later today as we have the Jim Rome Show coming up next, Dan Patrick Show, Lobo Women's Basketball starting at 2:30, and then the Sports Bar to wrap up the year following that. Jeff Simieta back next week. Everybody stay safe. Enjoy your weekend. Metal World Peace and Love. We'll talk on Monday.
Gonna ride a bubble.
Happy New Year.
Above the stars.
Merry New Year.
And while I would, a bubble would. Gonna take a trip to